What's good with it, folks? About to watch this video, see what these guys talking about. They be cracking me up. It's crazy. Let's get into it.
When you're going into most of this stuff, you don't know what the you're talking about.
If they're not dumb, are they just genetically inferior? Of course. Lack of education, lack of finance. Yeah, they have to be. You can't say that they're all like the same level of intelligence. Otherwise, then what explains for their failures? What? Like, yeah, of course.
I have no problem saying that. And it's not to look down on them. That's just what it is.
Abba, do you know who AD is?
Is that from No Jumper?
Yeah.
What about him?
Apparently, he wants to jump in and chat about the copyright thing. Is this guy? Do you both support, broadly speaking, Kanye West's comments?
Nah.
I'm not everything that not everything that he said, but
who is that?
Yeah, Jadion's about to jump in with that liberal racism.
Nah, it's me, Sneeko.
What you think about the Kanye West interview? And you be very candid.
Hold on. Buddy said, "Nah, it's me, Sneeko." Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it.
I don't know if I've seen it. Actually, I don't think I have.
Oh, it's wild. You might actually get offended, Dan. I'd be offended.
I saw clips from it. That I think I did, but I don't remember. It was one that he was saying that like
he's out
he
of
said
line.
some shit about Jews, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
He says you guys control a lot of things.
Yeah, but he's just a dude who's fucking bipolar. Like it sucks. Like that. I don't like look into it. He's obviously fucking off his fucking rocker, or he's just a tip. I mean, like
But,
I know us white guys like to think that we have a minority on being like ignorant and racist, but unfortunately that's not the case. Like anyone can actually believe this shit. It's like super easy and like convenient to just believe there's like this shadow cabal of Jews that are running the world and like meeting up on Friday night at Discord and just being like, hey, what are we doing today? It doesn't, just stupid.
Okay, so let's move away from the crazy characterization as a shadow cabal. Away from the crazy characterization as a shadow cabal. I've heard rappers rapping about the fact that everything is controlled by Jewish people since like the 90s, okay, from every record label to music. Would it not make sense that for Kanye, who's working in these industries, that there's an overrepresentation of Jewish people at the top? If we're being charitable.
I mean, that's just, if you look at where a lot of Jews have spent time, you'll find that a lot of them were involved with arts and media for a long time. That's like a big thing that the Jewish culture is based around, is arts and media. And we're overrepresented in certain categories. I'll agree, but that's just because there's going to be a lot of, I guess, generational stuff. Like if your father was an artist, or your grandfather was an artist, and things along those lines, like you're probably likely to fall in that path, or managing, or whatever it is.
Okay. So when you see artists signing 360 deals, getting fucked over by record labels, all these record labels, having agents who are also like, listen, when I spent time in Los Angeles, and even right now working with casting agents like that, vast majority of them are all Jewish folks.
So
Whatever reason.
Let me tell you right now, I'm already going to disagree with the idea that they're getting fucked over. And
with the 360 deals?
Hold on. And the reason I'm saying that, I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck that is. But I'm just going to say, broadly speaking. Hold on. I don't even know what a 360 deal is, so I can't say. But broadly speaking, I'm sure that the music business is almost the same as the venture capital business, where you lose a lot of money on a lot of people with the hope that one time when you have someone blow up, that you're making it all back. Okay, so that's my understanding of probably how it's going to work. Meaning that when you finally fucking make it, like, and you're the new whatever, someone huge, that this fucking, what it's going to seem like is this Jewish guy who really didn't do that much is taking whatever 20%, 30% of your cut, and it's like, what did he really do? All he did was spend like $50K on some recording sessions with me. Why the should I give him 30%? It's because he spends $50K on like 1,000 other dipshits that fucking go nowhere.
Ooh, real quick on
that
same take, if you want the ultra scorching burned earth hot take, and I could be wrong and there might be more information I could read about, so but I don't want to do the research. I just want to give my ultra hot take. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with Dave Chappelle when he talks about how he says he got fucked over by some people in the business early on. It kind of sounded like what Dan is talking about, where it's the standard, like, basically there's people that take risks on a lot of like up and comers and shit, and they took a risk on him and he ended up being really successful, but he's like, oh well, why'd you guys fuck me over so hard? It's like, because they're investing in a ton of like random people, and who the knows who's going to make it or not. Like 99 investments fail and one succeeds, and the guy that succeeds feels like he's getting fucked over, when the reality is he wouldn't have made it if other people weren't like willing to take a bit of a risk on him in the beginning. Based on how I heard him, I listened to one of his stand-up specials where he described the deal with Netflix and other people. I was like, when I was a kid, I got fucked over when I signed these deals and blah. It's like, dude, they didn't know you were gonna blow up. They didn't know that like it was gonna be as successful as it was gonna be. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. So we have to separate the era of today from the era of the past. Okay. The era of the past had literally one way towards the top. So absolutely, there's people being taken advantage every single day. When you heard, deals about people making little to no money off every record that they sold, when you heard about like, there's literally organizations where they would take music from black folks and then just give it to like folks like Elvis Presley or other people who were like sanitized. There was absolutely nothing they could do in these kinds of circumstances because there was no avenues to come up other than going through radio stations. These people had a control for distribution. They had a control in regards to how the music was heard, if it was ever heard. So the idea that today is similar to the past is like non sequitur. These are completely different things. So if we're just talking about today, we can have a much more nuanced discussion. If you're talking about the past, nobody can really convince me that there wasn't a tremendous amount of exploitation in regards to artists of all races, but especially from minority communities. Now, I want to ask you guys, which conversation y'all trying to have?
Well, I mean, I don't think either of us would disagree about the I mean, there was we didn't have the Civil Rights Act. I'm sure there were people getting over in the black community, of course. Yeah, but I don't think that like.
This is up until the 90s. This is up until the 90s. So I'm not talking about the civil rights or anything like that. I'm talking about even in the 90s, this was the case.
So can you give me some examples of like big artists in the 90s you feel got f***ed over?
In terms of music artists?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going through music artists, you can actually look at TLC as a really solid example. TLC actually had a whole complaint where they came up on their award ceremony where they won a Grammy and they're like, yo, listen, we ain't even got a dime to our name. Because at the time, the way the deal worked is that they wouldn't make most of the money from touring, which is crazy. Because nowadays, artists get their money from touring. Even if they don't get money from the record label, if they sign up front, they at least get their money from touring. These motherfuckers got nothing. So the record labels were taking money from the
These
touring,
motherfuckers got
digital
nothing.
sales,
Let them know how to get these people. Don't let them get you like that, big dog.
The vast majority. Now, we can make an argument that the person who invests up front should definitely take a substantial cut, but these weren't just substantial. These were like all encompassing, and they would put everything towards administrative fees, all this stuff, and they would just jack up the prices. Now things have changed today because of streaming service, because people can self-publish, because people can cut a lot of these corners or do things without all these middlemen who just beefed up. It's kind of like what you guys spoke earlier. Remember when you guys talked about like when you get an insurance company involved, all of a sudden everyone jacks up all the prices? Right? Even though the service is not better, they're not actually anything a service because they know an insurer is going to pay. They don't care. That was the same thing that was happening to these artists, but to worse degrees. And you also have to imagine there's something. Okay, I don't know if you guys agree with me. Can we agree that if an artist chooses to sign a deal of their own volition, that doesn't change the fact that the deal is still potentially predatory?
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Okay, so when you're talking about a bunch of individuals who have little to no financial literacy, do not understand the deals that they're getting, don't understand the long-term implications, that there's a lot of opportunity for these industries who have all this knowledge and who have all this forethought to put them on deals that not only not work to the artist's benefit, but also f them over royal.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, I would imagine almost everybody was probably getting f***ed over in that case. It wouldn't have just been like minorities. I don't even know if it would have been especially minorities. It probably would have been anybody working in entertainment would be.
But I would, which is why I caveated at the beginning, saying this is not just a minority thing. This is happening to all kinds of folks. I think just minorities especially jumped because like they had a monopoly in terms of like what was hip hop and what was coming out. Yet all the people who were in charge of ownership or the people that were fucking them over or signing them on bad long-term deals were people who were of Jewish heritage. So you see this. What I guess what I'm gonna get at before I let you guys go. Artists and black folks who are in the hip-hop industry since the 90s have been complaining about Jewish control in regards to media corporations. And to their credit, most of the people who are signing them to shitty deals and f***ing them over are people of Jewish descent. So I ask you, what do you say to those people? Do you feel like
you say you? Easy. That's the easiest thing in the world, right? Like
okay.
Because I can make those same arguments like justifying racism like super easily. Like Chris Rock even joked about where was the skit that he had where he's like when I go to the money machine, people are always saying that like the media is the one that's like blaming the black people for crime. The media is what making it sound like black people commit crime. When I'm at the ATM machine at night, I'm not looking over my shoulder for the media. I'm looking over my shoulder for ninjas. Like he had a whole get at that. Like, I think that, like, you can make any argument to be racist against a group of people if they treat you bad enough. The whole red pill incel community, the idea of, like, treating women like shit. If you see enough, like, Miami girls or whatever, like, you can easily, like, breed an incel. Like, I can understand that there are probably people, black people even, that have bad experiences with Jewish people. And it even goes deeper than like, music records and shit. When you talk about, like, redlining and you talk about, like, block breaking and all those tactics and shit, a lot of those were Jewish real estate people, too. So, yeah, I mean, I know that there's, like, a lot of different areas that Jewish people were functioning in that could have made groups of people or black people specifically feel fucked over. But that's not a reason to be like, oh, well, now I'm anti-Semitic, because you could justify, like, so much crazy shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a fine line to cut. I'm not mad at what you're saying. I'm just saying that the grievance that they have in regards to the overrepresentation of Jewish people in positions that are constantly fucking them over, and I'm not just talking about mine, I'm talking about a lot, is understandable. That's all I'm saying. But I do agree with you that coming after them and then saying anti-Semitic statements or like, we got to get rid of these people, that's wild. I'm not talking about that.
I'm trying to think a little bit about TLC, because you use that as an example, and I was trying to imagine how much, if you gave just the average musician and you give, like, so first off, I think that capitalism and competition should always work. So that deal that you're saying that they got was bad, but apparently it was the best deal they could get at the time, because if there was a better one, I assume they would have taken a better deal. So that was the best deal that TLC
a deal being the best doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitative. That's akin to saying, I let
hold
my
on, let me finish. Okay, hold on. So that was the best that they could get. Okay, and essentially it sounds like what they got is, hey, you're gonna get nothing, but you'll be known by everyone in the world. And you know what? I think there's a lot of people that unironically probably would take that deal.
Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that it's exploitative.
It was the best deal they could get, and they chose to do it. It's not exploitative. If they so there's certainly exploitative things. They literally wanted to be known by probably fucking 80%, well, not 80% of the people in the United States at least knows that, or at least that are my age or older, know who TLC is. They're like, this is worth it to me, and this is the best deal that anyone is offering to me. There is no other deal. I want to be a fucking celebrity. I want to be on TV. I want to be known, and I want to be able to have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, but money would be the thing too. Like, I mean, just being a celebrity. No, I wouldn't just. Why would you? No, that makes no sense. Explain yourself, Dan.
Or whatever the fuck it is, and this is the only way I can do it. This is the best deal that there is. There is no other deal for me. It's either this, or I go back and I'm trying to do gigs at the local bar, making $20, being a nobody. Fuck it.
Well, like, it kind of reminds me of the early day of esports. Like, team, like, players' salaries were like $250, $300 a month, and if you got a salary, that's like the coolest shit in the world. You're like, oh my god, $300 a month. Even though I guess maybe it's exploitative, but like back then, they're just like, the industry was like so risky, like nobody actually knew, you know, if it was ever going to be profitable or anything. So
well, I just don't buy into this just purely on capitalism. Like, if it was exploitative, there should have been some other guy that was like, hey, listen, fuck that. You know, I'll give you 20%. Those as your.
No, because why? First of all, so if you're in a certain industry, right, and you got a couple of big companies that'll be able to take you, you look at what the market is. So if the people that are in the market right now are paying out this much money, I'm not going to lowball like crazy unless you're trying to like do like a big old takeover. But I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Like, if we all come together, you know, I guess together, if we all come together and we're like, okay, they're paying out, you know, $50, and then this guy's paying out $50, that guy's paying out 58, or not 58, 51. Other guys paying out 49. They're gonna stay right there because they still get, you know, a decent amount of money, you know, and they're still, what do they call it? I can't even remember what they call it, but they're still in the game. So if they're still in the game and they're staying right there in that little sweet spot, there's no reason to undercut somebody that much unless they're just completely trying to take over something. And I don't think they was. They was like, bro, we could sit here and we could give these people pennies and they'll be cool with it because where else are they going to go? They can't go down the street. They can't go anywhere because they're going to do, you might get maybe a penny less, but that's all you're going to get. So what's the point of going? What's the point of switching and all that other stuff? That's how they get you. You got to watch them people. Trust me.
You're saying those Jews want to give you nothing and just make you famous. Fuck it, I'll give you 20%. But there wasn't. So there was no group of like altruistic, white guys or black guys or Muslim guys or anyone who wanted to give TLC a chance.
Okay, well, first off, there are no black people in positions of power to be able to do that. So the idea that there's going to be people from different groups who would have done it is not.
There wasn't
pointless.
There was no black people in the music business in the 90s.
No. Listen, if you look at all the casting, none of them.
Well, because early on in the 90s, it was all capital from like big companies. It wasn't like, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of these companies were invested in by like really heavy people. It's not like Capitol Records is like a small startup in a kid's basement, right? Or was it? Am I totally wrong on that? Like Sony Records and all these people. This is like massive things run by Jewish and white people.
I think I remember one group. What were they called? Was it Motown? I don't even know who owned Motown at the time. So I could.
Let me ask you this: why isn't another group of Jewish people undercutting them and like, fuck it, let's get TLC. I'll give them 2%.
Why would they? Why? Whenever you can have your profit margins way up here, you can undercut them a little bit, to get the people looking at you, but there's no reason to undercut them way low. Like there's no incentive for that. So that would make no sense. So shut the fuck up, Dan.
Because they're all making their. Hold on 1 second.
So they're all together? Like I'm like one Jewish group's like, oh dude, fucking yeah. Did you hear that like Moishi over there got TLC and gave him nothing? Way to go, Moishi.
Hold up. That's not. So the argument that I'm making is not for this group of people. Like I'm just talking about business in general. All right. Just want to clear that up.
Fuck that. They're gonna be thinking like, man, I should have fucking offered them 5%. I could have had this is so stupid.
Whoa, Dan, you're getting.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. It's cool. I'm not mad at it.
No, because it goes back to the idea that all Jews work together. Like, dude, I've told this to Steven 100 times and he said it. Whenever I'm doing something, like, business-wise, and there's, like, another Jewish guy involved, I'm like, motherfucker. Because you're getting fucking railed over the fucking coals.
I don't think he's not talking about all Jews coordinating. He's just saying that, like, this is in general, like, Jewish people were in these positions, and that's why...
But I don't understand. Why would there not be anyone that would come and compete for TLC then? Okay, right? Why was there no one else who's like, let me do the same deal with 20% less?
Okay, all right. So this is like the whole platforming discussion. It's like, well, if platforming such a big, deplatforming such a big issue, why don't you just go to another social media company who can offer it? You're acting like it's so easy to, one, start a record label, B, have the distribution access to be able to do so, and B, compete with all these large companies. At the time, that didn't exist. If you wanted to actually gain access to a lot of these spaces, you had to be super well connected, which is why I'm saying back then is completely different than today. Back then, you only had 3 to 4 options in order to be able to make a come up. And now you're talking to me about like, well, why wasn't there? You're acting like there's a plethora of alternatives. That wasn't the case. Today, that's why you're seeing more than ever a bunch of independent artists, people who are not going through record labels, people who are advocating to never do so. They're not saying that because, they have a hard-on for record labels. They're saying because there's been so much exploitation over the years, you can now circumvent it by taking care of yourself. So for you to sit there and be like, well, why wasn't an alternative? You're acting like there was many alternatives. This is the whole idea of like, this kind of like a cringe capitalistic idea, which is like, well, the free market will sort itself out. That's not true. There's plenty of ways in which companies collude. Here's it.
For sure. Oh, hold on. I think I paused it too quick. I think he's about to say.
To be clear, there's half as many.
I'll just finish. I live in Canada. There's only 3 airlines, okay? No other airlines can come up due to lobbying and different things like that. And all these airlines literally work together to keep the prices around the same level. The reason being is, 1, they know there's no competition that come in place because nobody has the connections. And 2, they're going to constantly make a profit because if anybody wants to fly domestically, they have to go through these people. That's why flying in Canada is really untenable. So when you say there, you're like, well, why did they just find an alternative? There wasn't any.
Okay, so to be clear, there's 3 music labels now, for all intents and purposes. And I just looked, and in the 80s, there was about 60. So it seems to me like it would be easier. Now, you really don't have any options. Because if you get rejected by Sony...
It's easier to self-publish now. That's a big difference in...
Sure. Self-publishing. But back then, you had, a lot of options. Your local dipshit out of New York could get you on the radio, and you could be big. Now, there's 3 options. So it goes against what you're saying when you're like, oh, back then you know, it was way harder. Now you have options. You have 3 options now.
Okay.
For record labels.
You need to actually look into the record labels. How many of them were actually just subsidiaries of smaller ones? You have to actually look into it. Something could be a record label and literally just be under another record label. So you actually have to look into all that stuff. What you're saying. Secondly, when you're saying there's less options today, I don't know what rock you live under, but there's literally no musician who would ever tell you there's less options today. In fact, people coming through SoundCloud, people starting their own record labels, there's far more options today. So what you just said is patently untrue.
I mean, it sounds to me like you're saying the internet exists so that you can do it, which I don't disagree with. I think the internet is great for self-publishing, but you were saying that the label terms that they were getting were exploitative.
Absolutely.
And okay, but I'm saying that that was the best that they could get. And you're saying, well, there was almost no options, and I'm telling you there was more options.
You're saying
No, what he's saying is yeah, that's the best that they could get at the time. But just because that's the best that they can get doesn't mean that that was a good deal. That's all he's saying. He's saying the deal's bad. That's what he's saying. Like, if you just wall off, it's the best. Just wall that off, you know, keep that on the sides. All he's saying is this part right here was fucked. That's it. That's it. That's all he's saying.
you're saying it's the best that they can get doesn't change the fact that it's exploitative.
I think there's a definition of exploitative. Might be. I'm trying to think here. So
like here's Dan. So in the United States, I could probably hire somebody to do work for me for like $4 an hour if they were an illegal immigrant, and that's the best they can get. Would that be exploitative or?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But this isn't like. I feel like for a lot of these artists, they were willing to make that change. I mean, I'll ask you today, Stephen. Like, if I could do something, and I could say, hey, the next 5 years you're going to be unpaid, but everyone in America is going to know who you are. And when you're on tour and you're doing these speaking tours, you're going to make nothing. Would you do that?
Me?
Fuck no. Hell no.
So you wouldn't do that if everyone in America would know who you are. That's fine to answer, but I think a lot of people would do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you're asking me who's made a lot of money in this industry, blah blah blah, right? Like, but yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, that makes sense because exposure. So if you're talking about exposure, maybe. But if you're talking about, see, here's the thing: if you're talking about getting the exposure, and then whoever signs you takes the money for everything that you do in a certain period of time when you're the highest, that's a different story. But if you're just talking about exposure, like they invest maybe, I don't know, let's say $1 million, they invest $1 million into you, right? Then they want to take everything that you get for these albums, these what, 10, 20 albums that you do in this amount of time. And if those are your hits, then what? You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's the best. I mean, I don't know. I think it's tough. I think it's a tough one. But I'm kind of understanding what you're saying, Dan. Keep going.
Yeah, for other people that might be worth the risk, sure. It's the phase contract.
And I think
thing,
that's a very fair. I think that's a very fair thing. I don't know if that's exploitative, like you're saying, Abba. That's the problem.
It is. So
I don't.
take,
I literally.
Yeah. Check that out. Yeah, 100%. That's exploitative. I don't even understand that part. It is exploitative. Now the question is it? It is what it is. That's the question. Is what it is. Now that would. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Hold on. I'll give you another counterexample. So take college football, for example. That was exploitative. You couldn't get a better deal.
Let's just focus. Let's just focus on this.
No. Because
I don't want to argue against football or other things because I barely know anything about this, and now you're telling me into football where I know even less. Let's just stick with what we're talking about.
But the reason why I bring about college football is there's literally legislative change that had to happen because the fact that these people were exploitive. Now I'm not going to go deep into it. I don't want to. What my point being to counter yours is you're saying it's the best that they could get, so it's not exploitive. That was the case for college football for a long time, but it turned out it was still exploitative because of the rules in place and how everyone was gatekept from making any money. I'm not talking about they couldn't make just salaries. They couldn't even sell their own name or likeness.
Okay.
So that was seen as exploitative. It was the best that they could get, and so that's why I'm saying it counters your idea.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the deal that you're saying where they make no money but they become a superhero, or not a superhero, but like a super celebrity, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't think that's a bad deal. I think that if you're gonna go and you're gonna invest millions of dollars,
That is a bad deal, though. If you're not making any money, how is that a good deal? I mean, exposure, yes, that's a big thing. But if you think about it, if I got to give you every dime that I make from here, like from fucking, a year to 10 years or whatever, how is that a good deal? It's not a good deal. That's all he's saying. The deal itself was bad. That's it. That's all he said. The deal itself was bad. Now, you could talk about the outskirts of it, I guess. But yeah.
in my name, hundreds of millions of dollars in my name, that's a good deal. I don't think it's exploitative. I think that's a great deal that they fucking got, because there was probably a lot of people that they tried this to. They could have spent millions of dollars.
And I think Abba, the way that he's talking, he's coming from the perspective of whoever's viewing, or whoever's the creator, whoever the creator is. And Dan is coming from this perspective of the person bankrolling it, the person, putting the money in and how much they should make. And that's the thing about watching people's pockets. When you watch people's pockets, like, shit can get really, really weird.
Had it go fucking nowhere. So if they become literally famous off of this, I think that is something. You know what? People are saying, oh, slave to be famous. I think that's certainly fair. I wouldn't do it. But you know what? A lot of people would do that today. A lot of artists would be like, I'll fucking sell my kids into slavery to do that, to go out and do that today. Not only do you get me, you get my children, because they believe that they have a message to tell to people out there. And you're like, oh, that's exploitive, you can't do it. They would give everything to do that. Like, that's the whole thing. It costs a tremendous amount of money to make TLC. That wasn't free. That was by no definition free. In the terms that they got, essentially was like, hey, listen, we're going to make you a superhero. We're going to get probably everything you're going to make, okay? But, in 10 years when all this contract's up, you do your thing, everyone's going to know who you are.
Yeah, that's not a small thing. We're going to get everything that you're going to make, okay? What? What? For real? Everything? No, fuck that.
Okay? I don't necessarily think that is exploitative in that case. Sure, it would be nice.
I don't even think what y'all heard what I said. So what I said was, he said that we're going to get everything that you're going to make, and that's insane. Nobody, fuck that. No, hell no.
If they got 20% and everyone was aligned on that front. Okay. But like you're not looking at how much money everyone else spent on that. And they tried to spend it on other people to have it go somewhere. And now, if TLC isn't doing anything with that today, why is that? Why is no one giving TLC a second chance right now?
Because sometimes they have ownership over their name and the likeness. They have ownership over all the masters, so they can't do any features.
I'm not talking about stuff they did in the past. I'm talking about today. Does TLC have nothing else to offer?
No, what do you mean you're talking about today? Music changed. Tastes change. They can't make money. Like, they can't. Like, nobody's going there. Like, and the people that probably would go there, I guess, I don't know. They wasn't my band, so it ain't like I ever fucking listened to their shit or anything like that. I might have heard maybe one song, 2 songs or something like that. But people are getting older. People ain't trying to go back and watch. So if they're not that big, like an Elvis Presley or some shit like that, people ain't going to go watch that. Like, really? Seriously? They ain't making no money if they're gonna. And what the people would want to watch anyways would be their older stuff. So if their older stuff is wrapped up in these big corporations, that they got to go and get permission for and stuff like that, then no, dude. No, you're high. Just shut up.
You're not understanding. Sometimes people's lives, in terms of how much time they actually spend on these platforms or become famous, is a limited shelf life. Maybe you only have 2-3 albums in you. Well, guess what? The record label signs you to a deal where they're going to maximize any opportunity for profit and mitigate any risk possible. Meaning, like, they're going to make sure that your 3 first albums, they're signing you to the shittiest deal. And so your best work, which is most people make their best work in their first 3 albums, they've got it. Okay, it's very rare that you get music artists that are gonna make 10 albums that are top notch and making money. You would be talking about less than 1% of the artists. So the reason why I say it's exploitative is in the example that you gave. You're like, well, 10 years we invested in you. Now you could go off and do amazing things. What artists spends 10 years doing the best work that they make and then goes on to make even better stuff. Very, very few. So now they've given them their best.
Wait,
years.
real quick, is it fewer than the type of people that make it go nowhere, that gets millions invested in them every time? Because I think that number is even bigger. But where no one's like crying a tear for the millions of dollars that have spent on fucking nobodies that never go anywhere.
So you're asking me. So this is what you're asking us. So you're asking us to cry a tear for these billionaire motherfuckers. Like, you're tripping. You're high. That's what I'm saying. Dan is obviously coming from this perspective of the corporation, and Abba is coming from the perspective of the artist. Like, you can clearly see that.
But I still drop the money in trying to make them be somewhere. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, that's the whole thing I'm trying to say here is, like, for every person that's like, oh, well, you didn't make it 10 years into the future to go and do something else, there's 1,000 people that this Jewish guy spent $1 million on to try and become the next fucking, super famous celebrity, artist, whatever, that didn't make it. Okay, and they didn't. But you're like, oh, well, yeah, that sucks. So
okay, so let me understand this system that you have in your head. The system that you have in your head is, one, they're taking tremendous amount of risks and potentially bankrupting themselves by investing in artists who are going to go nowhere. So what they need to do is exploit the artists who do take them somewhere, make sure those people come out with little to no money, and then that way the record label always wins. So the system that you're describing,
the fucked up system. How fucked up is that? So you're telling me that you're gonna have this one guy bankroll everybody that you made a loss on. A loss is a loss. But how you gonna stay in business if you don't? So I mean, I don't know, man. It's tough.
Record label does not always win.
Okay, exactly. That's my point. That's why it's exploited.
Wait, but hold on. Wait, what you're describing, Ed, but what you just said, that exact thing is true, and that's how it should be. That the winners are typically the ones that subsidize the losers in any capital environment like that, and that the record label always has to win, because if the record label is losing, the record label is not going to exist to make those investments in the first place. So let's say that you're going to invest in 100 pieces of talent, and you've got, you've got investors and you're trying to make money, right? Well, for 100 different talent, one might go big, and that one guy that goes big is going to feel fucked. But like the 99 other people got a shot that they wouldn't have gotten anyways. So of course the record label is going to be, taking a little bit more from that one guy that made it big to like subsidize the 99 that didn't make it and still be able to turn a profit, right?
Okay,
that's fucked up.
I'm not disagreeing with you guys that the strategy that they might employ might make sense in regards to how you're describing it. What I'm trying to relate to you is that to all the artists who do end up going through these deals and come out poor, they're the ones who are financing these companies whilst making $0 or making little to nothing or coming out extremely poor. So my description to you is, even though the system you say I agree with, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitative for the artists who do make it, because they
110%. That's
110%. And
110%.
financing everything else. I don't think that's a good system, and that's why today's system operates a lot better, and why you have a lot of artists who are actually making money. So
I don't even necessarily think that if you're famous, you should be rich. I think the amount of money you have should from being famous. Like,
what?
Okay. How do I
coming for your pocket. He coming for your pockets, Destiny. You better get him. Check your boy.
Just the fact you're saying that like so many people are getting fucked.
Nah, he said you shouldn't make no money, Destiny. That's exactly what he said. You heard him right. You heard him. You don't need to be making no money. Why the hell are you making so much money employing all these people? You don't need to do that. Nah, hell no. The person above you should be doing that, which I don't think there's anybody above you.
Celebrities have a lot of money. They're traditionally very wealthy. If you get to TLC's level, I would say most people like TLC are rich, or certainly upper class and not poor.
What era?
Celebrities.
Because I can tell you the people that grew up in that era and before, vast majority of them did not become rich.
Are we talking about just musicians or what?
Yes, we're going to stick to just music because the other industries are a bit different.
I would say people who tried to become a musician, I would say that more than half are rich. Okay, I'm not even saying doing well. I'm saying more than half are rich, of people to TLC's class or better. So I would say I would put a certain amount of this on TLC themselves if they didn't get to that level of, I don't know what is different in that case.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. If you can
what is different about the TLC case versus other musicians that are rich, that had, I assume, the same deal? Because it sounds like everyone got the same deal, right?
not everyone got the same deal,
So
but
what-
there were
what
very
was- what
similar
was it-
ones. So you
what
have
was
to
the
imagine
difference?
it'll be in the fine print of the contract itself. It depends on what cut they take from the live shows versus the other ones. Not everyone got the exact same deal, but they're definitely comparable. It could also be like TLC made some poor investments from what little they did make. It could be a bunch of different things. But there is no doubt that when you look at what percentage they got out of the revenue they generated for that company, that percentage would be seen as exploitative by vast majority of artists today and going forward, just because they understand like, oh, there's no way they should be charging this much, there's no way they should have invested this much, there's no way these numbers make sense, there's no way they didn't pump up the numbers. There's a difference between a contractor charging an insurance company money versus a contractor in charging an individual extra money for labor that they didn't actually do, or for things that they didn't actually offer because they wanted to run up the cost and maximize their profits. The ways in which things are exploitative is the hidden cost that you associate with it, the kind of services that you claim you offer but you don't. So I'll give you an example. There's plenty of managers who take money from artists today, okay, who said, I'll manage you, I'll do other stuff. I mean, Steven can speak to this. There's MCMs that exist on YouTube right now who will take a cut of your check every single month and offer you zero in return. And you can't even get out of the contract because once you've signed to it, you are legally locked in. So you have to take them to court. This is happening on YouTube right now. So there's ways in which people literally steal your money while offering you nothing in return. So if you're asking me what was the difference between their contract, I couldn't tell you without looking at the fine print. I'd be speaking out of turn and out of ass. What I am saying is, over the course of the years, you've seen the progress that artists have made and how they've been able to fight for their rights in a lot of these industries. And within the music industry in particular, this issue of exploitation has been very apparent and well documented.
What was different about TLC's deal than others, and why didn't
I just told you.
Okay, so what I'm trying to ask you is, why doesn't everyone get TLC's deal? Why didn't it sounds like
Everybody ain't
fucking way better for the
TLC.
labels. Why didn't every band or musician?
I don't know.
get
That's a
TLC
good
deal?
question, Ab. Answer it.
Could it be that no one wanted to fuck with TLC? That they, they only had one hit in them, and most people knew it, and it was going to be a huge gamble, and had to put a ton of money into it, or what?
I'm confused. What are you even trying to get at right now? You're trying to say like, oh, TLC...
I'm trying to say there was no competition. No one. It sounded like there wasn't competition.
Oh, you're right. You're right. These record labels lock these people in early into deals that they know are really bad for them. And then if they take off, it's great for them. And if they don't, well, they mitigate most of their losses. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, so it sounded like no one wanted to f with TLC. It's not
that no one want to. It's not no one want to. First off, these are young people, like 18 at best. So you're asking me about their financial literacy. I couldn't tell you what it was. These are people who have aspirations but no financial knowledge whatsoever, approached by big record labels to sign a deal that they don't understand, nor will they. Nor will they understand the repercussions of until 10, 20 years later.
I can understand what you're saying there, but I can also say that they probably understood, we'll make you famous and we'll drop millions of dollars.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's still exploitive. If you're approaching an 18, 19-year-old who has no financial literacy and signing them to a deal that is not in their favor whatsoever, under the guise that you're going to help them, then you're still...
He never made no money in their
I'm trying to
life.
think, like, it's not like we're getting you to work for $4 an hour. I assume that they definitively, absolutely, were making above minimum wage doing this. There's no doubt in my mind.
Okay. Them making minimum wage...
So you're saying that they should be a millionaire.
I'm saying that if you offer something of value to a company and you enrich them to some degree, there's a part of the proceeds that should actually return to you. And if that's considered crazy or stupid by investment terms, I don't know what to tell you. When someone works for me...
110%. Yeah. They should be making some money. If you're working just to pay bills, you're tripping. like you're high as hell. Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
And they provide value to what I do. I pay them in return because it's what they deserve. It is the ethical thing to do. Now, if you're telling me that's a dumb capitalistic mindset, I don't really care. It doesn't change the fact that me asking someone to work because they got starry eyes for me and they're doing pretty much labor for free, that's exploitative. Even if it's the best deal that they could get, it doesn't change the fact that ethically speaking, what I'm doing is incredibly wrong. And if you were to sit here and try to make the argument otherwise, I would look at you as an immoral person.
I just disagree. I don't think that you singing is worth more than a guy that's carrying cinder blocks all day. And if I'm going to make you famous on top of it, I'll offer you a deal. Like, okay,
Hold on. It's worth more than a guy carrying cinder blocks all day. I don't know about that. I mean, if they're making that kind of money, I mean, obviously it's worth more. It's about what people will pay, right? So if they're gonna pay it, then it's worth it.
Hold on, let me finish. If you're like, hey, you know, I want to be. Let me finish. You come to me and you're like, hey, I want to be famous. I'm a singer. I'm like, okay. I mean, you're pretty good. But there's a lot of people that are pretty good. And you're like, okay, yeah, but I want to be. I'll do anything to be famous. Like, listen, I'll fucking. Man, it's a huge risk. I can spend literally $20 million on you, and you might just go nowhere.
Hold on, y'all. One sec. Yeah, one sec. I got it. We're good.
What you said is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Are you telling me that?
Hold on.
Are you telling me a singer is
You just told me.
comparable? Are you telling me a singer, in terms of what it generates in terms of revenue for whatever company it works for, is comparable to somebody who lays cinder blocks?
On the aggregate, with the 1,000 other singers that go nowhere, it could be that way. Construction industry is pretty big. Yeah, I would say so. Do you know how much money is spent on all of the people that go nowhere in the music industry? I'm guessing it's not nothing. I'm guessing that there's a lot
Not my problem.
of money that's going into people that go fucking nowhere. A lot of musicians go nowhere. Most go nowhere, okay? And you're only looking at the successes and you're like, oh, dude, TLC,
Still wondering how that's my problem.
they made $10 million. They should get 80% of that. And it's like, dude, no, they shouldn't get 80% of that. They should get whatever they signed on to this thing because they wanted to be a fucking superhero. Not a fucking superhero.
Okay. So by your logic, if I want to sign on, let's say there's a bunch of immigrants who come to this country. I want to sign them on to deals where they only make $1 a day. Okay.
Nope,
And
didn't say that because they make above the legal wage. That
stop,
would
stop,
be
stop, stop,
exploitative.
stop, stop.
$1 a day. Come on now.
That would be exploitative.
Stop.
Yes.
There's no labor laws, okay? Forget all the labor laws, forget the rules, okay? I'm asking you just on a moral standpoint, okay? If you got a system in place where you bring in 300 immigrants, you sign them for $1 a day, that's the deal that they got. It's the best deal that they could get, and that's what I value their labor as, and that's what they're going to get. Should that be okay?
Yes, is what Dan would say.
I feel like you're doing such a huge straw man. So you're telling me no one's going to compete to offer these workers. They're going to do a great job more than $1 a day. There's not going to be my neighbor who's going to be like, oh, I'll give you $2. That's fucking, well, it's stupid.
No. Because your neighbor's going to look at your pockets and be like, damn, he's making a lot of money just for $1. Fuck it, let me offer that too. That's what he going to do. Or he might say, I'm going to give you $1.05. And if he gives you $1.05, technically you're making more, but no, that's stupid.
It's
Why
wrong.
would they? Why would they? These people are desperate for
If
work.
you're offering workers
they're
$1 a day, I will 100% come and beat your price. I'll give it $2 a day. So you're just wrong.
They're desperate for work. These
Yes,
people
I will
are
beat your price. I will beat your price.
Okay, so they're desperate
But that's not how it would work. Like, at all. Not at all.
for work.
And someone will beat my price.
You're arguing like the free place of like in terms of income and what it is. This is like a hyper capitalistic thing where it's like somebody's always going to offer you a better price, and so you're always going to get something that's ethical. That's not
That is actually capitalism, and it still was that way in the 90s and the 80s. Yes, there still was capitalism. In fact, in certain cases, as I said before, it's worse now. It's worse now because there's more monopolistic behavior that did not exist earlier on as companies became worth $1 trillion. So yeah, it is like absolutely monopolies are bad. I would say things could be even worse for an artist today when basically you could have 3 companies colluding and you could get fucked today. Absolutely, because it's like, where am I going to go? I can go to Sony or I can go to Warner, or I don't even know what the ones are. I just know there's 3, and that's it. Those are my options. But back then you did have, uncoordinated more options. And I'm just saying to you that, like, when you're saying, is it exploitative to offer people $1 a day to work? Yes, it is. Especially if they expect it, because that's not enough to live on. It's not enough to buy food on. It's just, a shit show. But what I'm telling you is that if there is a free market,
is that why it's exploitative? It's only because they can't have enough to live on. That's the only reason why.
I would say it's exploitative if we have defined minimum wage as a concept here. And I would say in many cases that if you want to offer me some money to do some work, that in general, us as a society has decided that no matter what that work is, you got to at least start at $15 an hour, or whatever minimum wage. I don't even know what it is right now. It's got to be $15 an hour. That's the minimum.
Are you serious? Oh, okay. Minimum wage, at least where I'm at, it ain't no $15. That shit, motherfuckers wish it was $15 an hour.
Okay, because that's what, just in general, you need to pay for housing, to pay for food, to do your thing. Now,
but that's what I'm saying. Okay, so look, that's what I'm saying, right? So Dan's like, you need at least $15 an hour, right? Just to live, right? But that's not what they're doing. So if the free market was doing what it was supposed to be doing, minimum wage would be higher. People would be making more money. So obviously it's not working. So obviously but that's not even what this conversation is about, though.
Go and try to break into an industry. You might make less money for a while. A good example of this is being an intern. Okay, sure. If you want to go and work in a legal office or something along those lines, you might say, pay me $15 an hour because I have, in 6 years, I could become, not necessarily, I might be shit at my job. I might not be able to get hired. I might, a million other things here, but I could become a doctor. I could become an attorney. Okay, there's a lot of huge wins. And if you make it, I've done 10 years at $15 an hour and ate shit and all this stuff, and now I'm a fucking Giga Chad doctor fucker. That is the goal that you get. But there's a lot of fucking souls along the way that didn't make it. And there's a lot of money that went into your training and a lot of other shit, and that's why you were getting $15 an hour. Is all the people.
That's what I'm saying. Obviously, Dan is coming from the perspective of the fucking corporation. So they're not even clicking. So there's no way. Well, maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, we're not that far into it. So maybe they will click at the end, but they're not even on the same page to even begin this conversation. So it's a good conversation, though.
People that fucking dropped out. And it's the same shit in startup investing, which is why I'm talking about this so much, because I've done a lot of what I feel is exploitative startup terms, but you know what? It was the best I could get. I couldn't get better. Do I feel like I should be giving up 30% of my fucking company right now when you're just giving me a check of 50 grand? What about if there's $1 billion? You really think you deserve 30% of my fucking company for 50K? That's bullshit. But you know what? I couldn't do better. No one else was taking a fucking chance on me or my fucking company. It was you, or I literally didn't do it. I didn't make my fucking company without you. So you know what? Fuck it. You took the fucking chance. You gave me 30 grand. Now you get fucking 30% of my company. And it's the most bullshit deal ever. I literally created Facebook.
Okay.
I literally have
All
billions
right.
of value, and it's bullshit. You think?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if I
Hold up. Did Dan create Facebook? Have I been tripping my whole life? That's pretty dope if he did, though.
agree with everything you said. What I instead do is, you know how you spoke about internship. You take a chance, you see if it works out, and then the investment works out, great. And then from there, you get a full-time job where you're now making lots of money. That makes sense to you as a system?
I think it's an investment. I view the music industry as an investment.
Okay, so what if I sign you to a 20-year deal where you cannot use your name and likeness during that 20-year period? I squeeze out all the good working years out of you, and then when I spit you back out, you've received nothing. Do you think that's a fair system in place?
I don't think that's legal. I think there's a maximum legal set. I think it's 7 years.
No, contracts can definitely extend that within the music industry when it comes to property or image rights. They can't go longer than that.
I can't argue this until I know what the actual law
Okay,
is.
we can look into it. And we can look into it. If I'm wrong, then I'll hold the L. Okay? But if there's a contract in place that takes your best years away, would you agree that would be exploited? So for example,
I know what you're saying. So there is unlimited contracts for the work that you create. If I come to work for you and I make a song, you will own that forever, or you can own it for 20 years until it comes back to me. But what you can't own is me. Okay, that is not possible to do that. You can always walk away from a contract, and any work that you've done there, for sure, will continue to be owned by them. Now there are things like name and likeness things, but I believe that there's legislation on that as well. I don't know how it was 40 years ago, because that's a very niche type of thing.
You can't just walk away. You can't just walk away. You can't just go and sign with another label. You can't just walk out and start producing music elsewhere. You can't use your name and likeness, because once they've invested in you, they own that. You'd have to literally change your name. You have to change your title. It's not just possible to walk away from a contract. I don't know what it is that you're talking about right now.
So there's certain things that you can't contract. I can't contract you to be a slave. It doesn't matter if you sign it or not. It doesn't matter if it's exploitative or not. There's just certain things that are illegal. So I don't know the specifics of that to do that. I will say again, people have made a decision that they want to be famous. People have made a decision.
But you're going back to the same argument. I think it's important to get in some of these smaller specifics, because if we don't, then you can't understand how it's exploited. You're trying to argue me on a macro scale in terms of contract and investment, which is fine. We're talking about the music industry in the whole. When people leave a record label, they can't just go and sign to a different one, because yes, absolutely, these people will not just sign them on. You want to know why? Because if artists understand that they have unlimited amount of mobility, then none of these record labels make that kind of money. There's absolutely an incentive in place for them to turn away people from the two other record labels, because if they don't, then the people that they have at their spot are just going to walk to the other record label. You have to understand the way in which these monopolies work. Here's another example that you might understand. When someone gets banned off of Twitter, well, sometimes, like Andrew Tate, they got banned off of Twitch, they got banned off of this, they got banned off of that. The reason being is that these companies, even though they're separate entities, oftentimes work together, even if it's not in an official manner. That's one. Two, even though what you said is they can't contract you as slaves, and I agree, what they can do is neuter you to the point where starting over is almost impossible. The reason being is they take your name and likeness. They take away your brand. They take away everything that you've built up until now. And if you use anything of it, they'll sue you into the ground. So no record label will want to touch you. Why would I try to sign Brandy if Brandy's no longer Brandy? If she walks away from her 360 deal, I would never want to sign her, because the other record label owns all her rights. So she's untouchable. So now I have an artist who walked away from a contract that they signed that you say they can walk away from because they're not slaves, but they can't do any of the work that they've invested in themselves.
Okay, I think you have a misunderstanding on name and likeness stuff, because I've looked into this, because I thought I was correct, and then you were saying stuff that made me doubt myself. Name and likeness, let's say that you sell me your name and likeness, okay, for 20 years. Okay, you'd be like, that's bullshit. You sold that to me for $5. That doesn't mean you can't go do whatever you want to do. It just means I can use your shit also. Okay, that does not stop you from working or launching a career with someone else. It just means that I can also go and launch a line of fucking ABBA shampoo. Okay, that's what it means. So it doesn't stop you from working. All that it does is it means that you've gone and said, hey, I want to be a celebrity. So you can go ahead and you can use my name and likeness to do it. I'm not saying this is a good thing because I think it's, you know, it's questionable for longer terms. I would say if I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in you, I think that a 5-year term or 3-year term or whatever it is, if I'm going to dump millions of dollars into you to potentially make you a celebrity, knowing that there's a 2% chance it'll succeed, I think that that's probably realistic, that I don't want you fucking off as soon as I dump this $3 million to go to one of my competitors. And I put all that money in.
That makes sense. That does. I like that. That does make sense. That makes sense. Good job, Dan.
To it, and now you're going to my competitor, and what, he's going to get all the benefit of that? Fuck that. Absolutely not. No one would invest in anyone if that was the case. Why would I put $10 million into promoting you on the radio, buying billboards with your name, if the second I fucking do it, you just leave and be like, oh, thanks for all the advertising, dipshit. I'm on my own now. Like, it's stupid.
I understand what you're saying. So first, initially, you said these people signed the contract. There's a reason why the system's in place. And if they don't like it, they can just walk away. Then I explained to you why they can't walk away.
Well, they can walk away.
Well, they can walk away, but they can't continue the work. You just explained it to me.
They can continue the work.
How do they continue the work? Go ahead. Tell me how you've built up a brand, right? Because you know what non-competes, you know about all these things. So tell me how they can continue the work, go work for one of the competitors.
Okay, well, I just said that you can't work for a competitor. If I'm going to dump millions of dollars.
So what are record labels? What are record labels?
No. Listen, I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you that you can't go. If I'm going to dump millions of dollars into you, you absolutely can't. But once the term is expired, even if a name and likeness is continued going, you can go do it. I might still have a residual in your name and likeness, but nothing's stopping you from releasing an album either with yourself or with someone else and getting 100% of it. That doesn't stop you. Again, you're a celebrity now.
No. Now you just said with yourself. I just told you live in an industry where that's not possible.
Then one of the other record labels at the time.
But they're competing with each other.
I understand that. We're talking about, I agree with you that if there's a term of non-compete, you shouldn't be able to go to someone during that time. I think that's correct. I don't think that's exploitative. I think that's good.
Okay. So you just relayed to me in a situation in which these record labels can sign people to these terrible deals, put them on non-competes, right? Where there's very little to no.
I don't think they're terrible.
No. Hold on, let me finish. Then you say, well, they have options. They can just go to the next person who's going to give them a better deal. Or they can
after the term is over. Yeah, after the term is over.
But after the term is over, they've already given them their best years. Did you not just understand that part either?
Well, you also
he didn't have. He didn't. Get him out.
Spent a lot of money
Becoming famous is not some road to being able financially good. If someone,
I would say for a lot of people it is. I think if you're famous, it's probably a lot easier to make money. I mean, just look at the dude who was a fucking cannibal. He's out there making money right now, shilling timeshares just because of who he is.
Do you think fame lasts forever and that's always a monetary thing that you can always make money from?
I think it's a lot easier to be famous and make money than to not be famous and make money.
Okay, but that's not this thing where you can always make money.
you got a point. It is famous and making money and not famous and making money. I mean, he got you there. He got you there. Spin it out. Keep sticking up for the little guy.
Money from that's unlimited. So TLC, if they go anywhere, they can just start making money, print it off like nothing.
They will have an easier job making money than I would.
That's not what I asked you. Off their name and likeness, because you can make money. I don't know how you make money, but I'm asking you, using their fame and likeness, do you think they just go anywhere and make money?
As long as they're not in a contract today, then yes. Why would they not be able to?
Off their music or off of other things?
Off of their music that they create today, or off of other things.
So you're talking about new music. Okay, that's fair. If I'm in love with TLC, here's an example. I'm in love with TLC. I think they make the best music, whatever, hypothetical. Then 10 years go by, they get out of the contract. Now they want to do their own thing, and they want to perform their own songs, but they can't. How do they go on tour, try to perform their best songs, but they can no longer do so? Who's going to go? Who's going
to
They have to work out a new deal. So that's capitalism.
They're going to work out that new deal.
Right. Fuck, I don't own my
What if they say no? What if they're like, no, you can't have these songs. I'm not giving you none of this money. That would be fucked up.
A lot of fans want to see the old shit. So I go to my old label and say, listen, I want to go on tour. And they're like, well, we own your old songs. I'm like, listen, to be real, obviously I know a lot of my old fans. They want to see my old songs. Some of them want to see the new shit too. So what I suggest to you is I'll cut you in on the new revenue. I'll give you like 30%. Okay? Because if you're not going to do it, then it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Obviously fans want to see the old shit. So you can either have some money or no money. And and what do you think they're going to be like? Yeah, all right, fuck it. We'll do it. Of course they would do it. That is literally how it's designed. The artist does not own the songs. That's the differential here. When I give you money, it's like I'm giving a programmer money to create something.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So I think in the beginning, if you outline that, not in a contract, because everybody know nobody reading contracts. I know it's fucked up, it's stupid, whatever. But if you make it clear, right? Yo, basically what I'm doing is you're a painter and I'm coming to you and I'm buying your painting. If you make that clear, I think everybody would be on the same page. All the bitching would probably stop, because it's like, dude, bro, I just bought your song. Like, nobody's seeing it like that. How people are seeing it is, you want to invest in me. So you want me to go out there and you want me to make these hits and stuff like that, and then you're investing in me. Not that you own my songs. Like, that's completely not how people are, or at least back then, for sure. That is not how people were seeing it. So my thing is if you make it clear, yo, basically what I'm doing, this is what this contract is. Basically what I'm doing is whenever you write a song, you're giving me that song, and then it's being put out there. So that song is now mine. So if you make that clear, I think it would stop a lot of the bullshit. I think, but I'm not in that industry, so I don't know.
They don't get to, in 10 years, come take the source code to my website and fucking say, hey, Dan, I want to take your shit. That's mine. You want to use that? You got to fucking pay me. It is the same thing when they've created a song under my label. I own that type of content. Okay? And it just doesn't seem fair, but when you look at it at any other type of work, it's the same exact thing. If you built a house, or if you drew some architect plans for my house or anything like that, I own that. You don't get to come and like, hey, I want to use this on tour. Okay, well, come to a deal with me. We can do it. I want to make. So I'd rather make something than nothing.
Okay, so record labels deny the deal, and they do it all the time.
Then, first off, I don't believe that. Okay, that's like that. What you're saying right now is some lefty shit, like how there's like 1 million houses that are vacant because landlords like want to just hurt poor people. Trust me, there are circumstances where stuff is vacant, no doubt. But in general, people want to make money. Making money is better than not making money. So I do not believe that that is the case. That if TLC says, hey, huge demand for us to go on tour, we want to do 50% of our new shit, 50% of our old shit, how would you feel if we gave you a cut of the revenue? You're telling me like, nah, we want 100% or not. It's just stupid. You know, no competent business person would ever say that, ever. So I don't believe that that is the case. And if someone did.
Hey, Dan got a point. Dan got a point. It don't make sense. Especially for a business person. You want to make money. So, yeah, I agree with you. That's a dub. Dub for Dan.
Do that. Then there has to be some mechanism or reason that they're getting compensated by someone else to not do that, or that they slept with someone's fucking wife.
So yes. So this is the weird part. So this becomes the weird part. So like the ownership, how deep it goes oftentimes is that it gets to a point where some of these people own the masters. They don't want to offer the original artist any opportunities to remix it, even if they get cut in on the deals. They don't like the idea of them even being able to use the music on tour. Why? I think there's been a lot of speculation. Some people say it's due to a personal relationship. Some people do say it's due to other reasons. What I am trying to say is, irrespective of how they've set this thing up, because these people own all the rights, they can absolutely engage in a way that's tyrannical. Now, I personally don't like to put all the emphasis on these examples because, one, I do think they're outliers, as you said. But two, more importantly, I also think that
you know what? Rage Pub said that. I agree. That's fine. If they don't want to let you go on tour, fuck you. It's their property. Tough shit.
Yeah, okay, and if you have that mindset, that's fine. But most people are going to see you as exploitative.
No, that's not. That's just I own your song. Yeah, that's not your song. That's my song.
Way. You can think that
no, that is the way.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. That's mine. So, I do whatever I want with it. It is what it is. That's fucked up, man. You're fucked up for them.
To think, I own that content, not you. Okay, that's the same thing if you drew plans
He
for my
sounds
house
like a
or
kid. He sounds like a kid. You just took his toy away. That's mine. Don't take my stuff. You're a mean person. Don't do it.
created a fucking webpage for me. I own it. You don't own it anymore. You were the fucking person that had your finger to the pen, and I paid you for it, and it is my property. You want to use it later? Maybe I'll let you for 30%, or fuck yourself. It's mine. I don't have to let you do it. It's not exploitative. I own it.
Say that, and you can say that, and that's fine. But most people are going to see you as exploitative as a result.
No,
so that's where a lot of
no way.
Absolutely. If you went to anybody,
well, if people don't understand.
Hold up. If you went to most people on the street and you told them that an artist invested their blood, their time, their stuff, and the record label invested back into them, and then the record label just said, "Fuck you, we're not giving you a dime. You don't deserve to make pretty much any money out of this. If you want, you can go off on the road." Most people are going to see these deals exploitative, and that's the reason why artists today would never sign these kinds of deals, because they're saying, "Why would I sign these deals? These are terrible investments. These are terrible returns on investments. They take all my work, all my labor, and I don't make any money." The industry is surviving today. It's thriving today, offering artists much more flexibility how they make income. So the idea that this stuff wouldn't be seen as exploitative, you're bugging. Literally, artists today all speak about how the fact that that's exploitative, which is why they don't sign these deals anymore. So you sitting here telling me like, "Oh no, it's not exploitative." All right, if it's not exploitative, why don't any artist sign it today?
Well, I imagine
why don't they sign it today?
Well, I think plenty do sign those terms today.
They don't. Those
You're
terms
saying
are
artists don't sign contracts anymore, is what you're telling me.
No, they don't sign the 360 deals, the ones that pretty much siphon all the money that the artist made to the record label.
That's probably just because competition. I mean, and I think that was probably the case back then as well, that there was competition.
Where did the competition come from? It came from the flexibility in the record labels.
Well, now I think there's probably less.
Okay, so that's my point to you, is that the standards that existed before funneled everybody to these systems that didn't allow for the artists to make any money. There's still the same amount of demand for music. There's still all that stuff. The only difference is that today there's more flexibility. So how are you telling me that the system that existed before, that pretty much only funneled everybody to these 3 record labels or whatever it was, is somehow ethical, when today the people have the same option to engage in these, but they don't, because they recognize that there's more flexibility? If it's so ethical, if it was such a good option, why doesn't anybody buy into it today like they used to?
Because they don't have
say that
to.
again?
If it's so ethical and these are correct ways of going about business, why don't artists today engage in the same type of contracts?
I think ethical is the wrong word. I think that right now, because of the internet and because of everything else, there's a lot more competition. So now there's less margin that you can make. And as a result of having less margin, you have to be more frisky with how much you offer out. And there's more access to information now, where people say, "Hey, Sony actually is offering this to new people right here," or whatever. That is certainly better that is here. More information is always better. But I would say it all comes down to capital, meaning that you have, hopefully in a healthy environment, companies competing with each other to get promising talent. And the more promising you are, the more that you are going to be able to command as your premium when you come on. And the less promising and the more of a gamble that you are, the less you're going to take. So that would be my outlook on it, is that they're all startup investments, essentially.
They're all Can you explain that a little bit better, the startup investments?
So when you invest in a singer, and I guess that's mostly what we're talking about here. I know there's like people that, don't do that now, but essentially when you invest in someone, a startup, most of them go nowhere. Most of them fizzle out and become...
That's 100%. 100%.
And it's the same in the music business, is that there's only space for so many superstars, if you will. Or so many people that aren't even superstars, but just become, successful and financial. And that for every success you have, you might have 99 failures. Okay. And if you have 99 failures with this stuff, you have to look at that like, okay, so if I'm investing $1 million out of every person that comes through my door. So I've had 100 people come through. The first 99 have all been losers. I'm down $99 million. And now I'm going to...
But a bitch ain't one. Got him!
invest $1 million into this next guy, okay? And he's going to make it. And wow, he made it. And he makes $100 million. I'm not, or even $200 million, whatever it is. I'm relying on that 1% to pay for the remaining 99% of my failures, or else I have a failure of a business. I need that to pay to cover all of my losses. And that's not fair. You only gave me $1 million and I'm producing $100 million. What entitles you to get half of my pay? Well, that's how the fucking thing works. 99% of my shit loses. I need this. So that would be the logic behind why it would happen along those lines.
Okay, so that's why the exploitative deals happen.
I don't think they're exploitative.
Okay, but the ones I qualify as exploitative, you don't. But that's why those deals happen, correct?
Why they happen? What do you mean by why they happen?
You just explained to me. You tried to explain to me the ways in which these deals come about, the reason why they're set up the way that they are, whether you see it exploitative or not. I'm fine with that. Is because of what you just explained, correct?
Yeah, because there's a certain amount of money that the business wants to make. They don't want to just make $500. That's like not enough margin. That's way too risky. They want to make a lot. You know, if you're,
of course.
Typically, if you're investing $100 million and it takes $100 million before you have your big hit, you probably don't want to just make 20%. That's a huge fucking gamble. You will probably want to double or triple up. So yeah, I would say that.
Listen to what Dan's saying. He's completely talking about that because he's saying when you make your big hit, yeah, I'm going to want to double up. Listen to what he's saying. He's 100% talking about the corporations. Like he's 100%, even the way he's talking. So I don't understand how they're going to reach an agreement. They're probably just going to agree to disagree because you're completely seeing two different things from two very different sides. So there's no way you're not going to even get close to the middle. I mean, hopefully he understands. Hopefully he'll at least, Abba can get him to at least see what he's saying. But from the way it's looking, Dan just can't get over the corporation side of thinking. Maybe it's because he owns his own business and shit, so that's the way he thinks. That's the reason why he's probably successful, hopefully.
You know, the only thing you can argue about is margins here, is how much does the artist, should they get? But those margins are probably where all the exploitation comes into play, right? I don't think these artists are saying they should make 75 or 50%. I think even 20% in a lot of cases would be good for people. Can I give you a hypothetical?
Absolutely, go for it.
Let's say that I did some shitty fucking stick drawing on MS Paint, and you commissioned me to do it for $5, and it was like a picture of you, and I just did it in MS Paint, and I sent it to you, and then you spent $100 million, and all of a sudden this was like the biggest piece of art, became like the fucking Mona Lisa, but only because you spent so much money promoting it. Do you think that I was exploited?
If you produced the art and you made no money off of it?
Yeah, I made the $5 you gave me.
And I didn't cut you a check of that?
Well, you gave me the $5. You said, Dan, I want to give you $5 for a stick figure, and then I'm gonna go fucking ball. I'm actually stupid. I'm gonna spend $100 million promoting your stick figure. And I'm like, dude, why would you do that? And you're like, well, I'm fucking happen. What do you mean by why that happened?
Say that again.
You tried to explain to me the ways in which these deals come about, the reason why they're set
He
up
might have
the way
just
they are,
made
whether you
sense.
see it
We'll see.
exploitative or not.
He might have just made sense.
Is because of what you just explained, correct?
Yeah, because there's a certain amount of money that the business wants to make. They don't want to just make $500. That's like not enough margin. That's way too risky. They want to make a lot. You know, if
of course.
Typically, if you're investing $100 million,
Every time I hear that, bro. Every time I hear that. What the fuck? I don't care.
That's a huge fucking gamble. You will probably want to double or triple up. So yeah, I would say that, you know, the only thing you can argue about is margins here, is how much does the artist
because you think hold on.
Hold on.
You think the only thing that you can argue about is margins. But you're coming at it from a completely different perspective. Like you're just missing the whole thing that I was saying, like the whole fucking shits and kabookles, or however you say that shit, I don't know. But you're fucking up, bro. You're not paying attention. Abba knows what you're talking about. That's why Abba's staying on track. But you are just completely worlds apart. But I got faith in you, Dan. You got this.
Those margins are probably where all the exploitation comes into play, right? I don't think these artists are saying they should make 75 or 50%. I think even 20% in a lot of cases would be good for people.
Can I give you a hypothetical?
Absolutely, go for it.
let's say that I did some shitty fucking stick drawing on MS Paint, and you commissioned me to do it for $5, and it was like a picture of you, and I just did it in MS Paint, and I sent it to you, and then you spent $100 million, and all of a sudden this was like the biggest piece of art, became like the fucking Mona Lisa, but only because you spent so much money promoting it. Do you think that I was exploited?
If you produced the art and you made no money off of it,
I heard what he said this time. I think that's completely a different thing. So if you come to me and you say, "Hey, bro, I want to buy this off of you," and I'm like, "Okay, $5," and then you're like, "All right, cool," and then you buy it, and then you turn around and you sell it, you hype it up and everything, and then you sell it for millions of dollars. No, I don't think that, I should have any rights to that money. Of course not. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about in in the music stuff. It's, to me, it's different. Like, it's different. It's like, if you came up to an artist and you was like, "Bro, check it out. I'm gonna buy this song from you." Like if I was, if I was putting up a video and stuff, and then I go to an artist and I'm like, "Hey, bro, I want to buy this song from you." Like, to me, it's like it clicks in their head, and they're gonna be like, "Okay, well, he's wanting to buy this song, so he's only gonna pay me, I don't know, $14, right, to be able to use this song, right?" And then whatever this video makes with that song in it is my money. That's not your money. That's my money. I came to you and I bought this song from you. But if I go to this artist and I'm like, "Bro, I'm really digging your shit. Like, your shit's dope. I want to sponsor you. I want to advertise your shit. I want to get you bigger than what you are," right? To me, I don't own your whatever you create during that time. I don't own that. Like, that's yours. What I own is whatever it is that we decided, a percentage of whatever I get, either a percentage or whatever it is. Like, that's what's mine. That's what the music that you made is not mine. That's the way that I would see it. But I guess obviously they don't see it like this. Maybe it's because of the risks are way more. Then, the risks are more, and like Dan was saying, I'm putting out millions of dollars on people that are not going nowhere. So I got to make my money somewhere. Well, then you shouldn't have put your money out millions of dollars. Like, there should be a way to figure that out. Like, there's not, no. An artist should never go walk away from some shit and the fucking company's making crazy fucking money. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't make any. It makes sense if I try to put myself in the corporation's, point of view. It makes sense, but the corporations are gonna be okay. Like, they're gonna be all right. Like, if they make a whole bunch of bad investments, they'll stop doing it. Like, they're gonna be like, "No, I'm not fucking with you no more." That's cool. That's why I say, even in your personal life, like whenever you're working for these companies and stuff like that, don't act like they owe you anything, because they don't. And they'll drop you in a heartbeat. So get in there, get what you need, and get the fuck out. Like, it's that simple. Don't do the whole, "Oh yeah, these are my peoples" and shit, because they ain't gonna look at you. As the first time some shit gets a little hairy, a little scary, they're gone. So yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah, I made the $5 you gave me.
and I didn't cut you a check of that.
Well, you gave me the $5. You said, "Dan, I want to give you $5 for a stick figure, and then I'm gonna go fucking ball. I'm actually stupid. I'm gonna spend $100 million promoting your stick figure." And I'm like, "Dude, why would you do that?" And you're like, "Well, I'm crazy. I don't know. I'm wild and wacky."
Yeah, I wouldn't see that as exploitative. No.
Why?
Because there's not an ongoing negotiation or process between us. There's not ongoing labor between us. There's not ongoing working relationship between us. And I'm not taking the best years of your working life, or I'm not signing you on a deal where you can't do work elsewhere. I'm not signing you on a deal where I own all likeness of the works that you do in the future or whatever. Like, I don't own all of that. So I don't think it's exploitative because the situation you described of is I gave you a product and then you resold that product and made more money off it. The situation I'm describing and the one I'm calling exploitative is one in which you have no freedom or very little to no freedom to do similar work in the future.
Oh, okay. Yeah, someone uses an example. I actually knew this guy, by the way. At least I think he did. I knew the guy who'd made the symbol. So people are talking about the Nike symbol who got paid $40 for it. But I knew the person who made the MTV logo, the original one with the thing. And he also just did. So yeah, in that case, do you feel that stuff is okay? Like
I have no idea about the Nike situation. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Someone paid them $100 to draw the Nike symbol, and then they got full rights to go fucking batshit, and the guy has no rights to it.
I mean, if that's pretty much the stick figure example you gave me,
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
So basically, visual
That makes
artists
sense.
are fucked.
Yeah,
because they
basically.
only do it once and then
Right.
they lose rights. But a music
Right.
artist who can create
and
new
create
things,
and create and
yeah,
create
so
and
you-
create.
like,
Yeah,
the term of
yeah.
length is where you have your.
That makes sense.
It's not
issue.
just the term of length; it's how restrictive the contract is.
I come back to this, man. If you're like, Dan, listen, I'm gonna pay you minimum wage to shitpost in Destiny's chat, and you'll get you weren't getting paid now, but I'm gonna pay you minimum wage to do it for the next 3 years, and I'm gonna promote this to everyone on Earth. I'm like, dude, really? I mean, I would take that deal. Like I do that for free right now, and musicians do that for free. I think this all comes down to the idea that musicians and celebrities see how much money that their work generates, their song creates, and they don't understand that they would be nowhere without the so-called Jewish guy at the top because of the mixing that went into it, the editing that went into it.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that it's a collaborative experience. I'm not saying that the Jewish person, whoever owns the record label, whoever the fuck religion, I don't care, didn't contribute a tremendous amount and shouldn't make majority of the profits. That's not my point. My point is that the deals are exploitative in that, one, they don't offer a cut that's sizable or even representative of any form of the work that's put in, and two, they're so restrictive that if you want to go elsewhere, if you want to commute to work, it's very much impossible, and so that's why I don't like it. So for example, if I'm an athlete who plays in the NFL, right, my shelf life is 10 years at best. If someone signs me to deals and they must, like, these are mandatory deals where I come in and they're 10-year deals where I make $1 million a year and they're what are they called? Not unrestricted. They are non-guaranteed, meaning if I get injured, they can cut me at any point. So there's no health requirement to whatever. Those deals would be considered exploitative by today's nature. Now, you can make the argument that these are the only deals that are available. They're making millions, or what's the problem? But these guys are coming in, generating billions of dollars for the industry. It's not like these places are hurting by the fact that they're offering these guys all these contracts. Because if you look at the contracts right now, they're able to offer quarterbacks hundreds of millions of dollars, right? But they weren't doing that before because the system they had in place was very much incentivized to minimize any loss of money. Not because the industry wouldn't survive otherwise, but because they want to maximize their profits at the expense of the athletes involved. You can make that same analogy for a lot of different contracts that exist today. One can say that these things are exploitative and also say that they were the best things available at the time.
I'm just looking at, like, I think we're at a standstill because I think that
Bro, y'all been at a standstill
if
for
you're
a
willing
while.
to spend millions of dollars to make me famous, and in exchange for that, you get all the songs that I produce in the next 2 years, 3 years, I think that's fine. If I'm like, okay, first off, they have to get.
Okay, so if you're looking at it like that, right? That does kind of make sense. Yeah, that really, because I mean, if you're looking at it like, so if it's like 1 or 2 years, see, but the thing is if you're taking all the money, and then at the end of it, I don't even own these songs. Like I don't own these songs, so I can't replay them without your say so. I can't, do whatever I want to do with these songs without your say so. That's where it's messed up. Like that's where ain't nobody talking about. Of course you should make money, bro. You invested millions of dollars. Of course you should make your money. Duh. Like that makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is at the end of that, then I can't make money off of my creation. That's fucked up. And I think, come on, dude. Get him, Abba. You got this.
Get paid. The contract is only a contract with consideration. But let's just assume I'm making minimum wage. if I'll ask myself like, okay, you know, like I could be famous, but I'm not going to be a millionaire off of this. Like I'll have to hope that I'm not going to be a one-hit wonder, that I will go and be the Beatles or something along those lines moving forward.
Okay.
And
Sorry, Destiny, you got to do something?
No, I was gonna wait. As soon as he's paused, I was gonna say, catch me up. I heard like half of this. Where are we at right now? Have we made progress? Are you guys coming closer to agreeing, or?
I'll let him finish and then we'll go from there.
You can go. I just basically I don't believe that it's exploitative to the level that you do. I think, I think as I said, it's just startup investing.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with the startup investing, but I think there's a point where you move past a startup investment and you get to the point where the deal on any form of upside makes it so that the person who's giving you the income you want has no means or recourse to make money. And so that's what I worry.
Well, you know what's interesting? In startups, you have vesting, right? So in a startup, I'm in one now. You know, if you invest in me, once you invest, you know that if I quit within the next 3 years, I lose all my equity?
That makes sense.
That everything I've worked for during that time, I lose it?
Okay.
So that's kind of, in a certain extent, you like the startup investor, this guy who just put 30 grand into me, owns me. Because if I just fucking leave 2.5 years in, I might walk away with literally nothing. Like for this guy he could potentially own all of my company if I left as well.
Okay.
I think the only way that would be the same is if the person that invested in a Dan was like, at the end of their little contract, like Dan doesn't, flake out or whatever during the middle of it. At the end of it, he can't make any money still. Like he never gets to make any money over that company because they invested into that company. See, okay, so that's how it would be the same. So they invested into this. They came to Dan, hey Dan, hey bro, I see you doing this thing. I think it's cool. I want to invest in it. And Dan's like, yeah, man, cool, help me out. And then they're like, okay, cool. And then at the end, he's like, it's for 5 years or whatever. They've taken so much money, 30, I think it said 30% or whatever. And then at the end, they're like, oh, but guess what, bro? Now it's my company. now what you just made and built from the ground up is mine because I invested in you 5 years ago. You're okay with that, right? Like that would be comparable to me. That's the way that I see it. The only way that would be the same. So, no, it's not the same, Dan. It's not at all.
Okay.
That is just how business is done. You have to mitigate the record label's risk, and that's why the Wikipedia page for defunct record labels is like 5 pages long. It has subcategories.
That's the way that your contract works with whatever you're doing with the startup, and I don't think there's anything. I don't know if there's anything wrong or right with that. I don't know the ins and outs, so I'm not going to speak. What I was speaking to was the kind of deals that we were talking about, where people offer the best years of their lives in terms of work labor, and then are expected to then make the money back after those years pass. I think those are the contracts that I'm referring to that are exploitive, that offer absolutely no flexibility, take away your first 4 to 5 albums where you generally generate most amount of the income or most amount of the buzz and the fame, and then afterwards you peter out. And I think, go ahead.
Do you know about the Channel 5 kid?
Yes, is that the tall white dude who goes around doing like really cool interviews?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that guy's stuff.
So, have you heard the narrative around like his past channel and everything?
Basically, he was signed to a deal and he had to make a new channel?
Yeah, so he was signed to a previous company and they had full ownership of that channel. They completely fucked him over so that they got to maintain like everything and he owned nothing. So he left, right? I actually think that the narrative on that is completely wrong. I think that it was a great deal for him. And I think that everything went as well as it could have expected to for him. Everybody like views it as being highly exploitative, but the reality is that he wouldn't have had the opportunity to have done what he did if that company wasn't willing to back him initially in the beginning. Even if it seemed exploitative that they owned a lot of the stuff in the beginning. Like now he has another channel. He got all of his subs plus more back. He makes a ton of content. He's like his own independent person now. But the only reason why he was able to do it was because of that like.
Again. That's different. That's way different, bro. So it's not music, okay? Music, when you listen to music and you listen to your favorite artists, you're like, dude, that song was so fucking, it was the best song. I want to hear you play it. That's completely fucking different whenever you're talking about a YouTube dude that does news. Like when the people that are watching him are watching for new shit. Like they're not watching for back stuff. They're watching for new. So yes, he went. They did their thing. They sponsored him or whatever. He got to go travel, build his his following and whatever. And then at the end, he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. So he can go and leave. And yeah, they still own that older stuff. But his newer stuff, just it's a complete different. I don't understand how you guys are not seeing this. Like I don't. It doesn't make no sense because that's 100% different. Like the more stuff that he does, it's the news doesn't stay the same. You don't watch the news. Nobody goes back to 1999 and see what the fuck the news was talking about back then. Nobody does. All right, there's probably some people that do that, but the majority of people are not doing that. So for him, that's a good thing. Hey, I can go and, today fucking Russia did this, fucking today fucking, Biden did this, Trump did that, whatever it is. So it's not taking his money away. So that's okay. Yeah, you spent this much money. You got this much money off of me. Now it's time for us to go our separate ways, and we can do that and everything's cool. But with the music thing, you get some hits, and if they own those hits, you can't do anything with that without cutting them a check, or they could just say no. It's completely different. Completely different. I don't understand how y'all are not understanding this. But whatever.
Initial deal that he signed with the company that people would have argued as
They
being,
took everything, I think, too.
I think they did. They had full ownership of the channel. Yeah, I think they did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so them helping him grow.
Again. So again, like his channel, right? He can start a new channel because the people wasn't coming there just for the stuff that he was doing then at the time. People are coming to watch him, so he can start a new channel. All he has to do is, he might have to do a little stuff, get on to some other people's stuff and be like, hey, y'all, this is me. This is my new channel. And then eventually people will find him again. Like, it's completely different. He has to put in a little more work, of course, but it's a completely different scenario. It's you can't even compare the two.
How I would view this situation would depend on what they offered him in terms of services, how they actually facilitated the growth of the company. It's if they just signed him, because you know about this, right? There are some MCMs that exist on YouTube right now that literally just sign you onto a 3-4 year contract, offer you a lot
and
of
they don't do
promises
shit,
about what
right?
and they don't do shit, and they take a cut, and you have to take them to court, and odds of you winning are not that great.
Sure, but back in the day for music, even booking studio time was hella expensive, right? And then everything related to music was really expensive because you had to buy all the fucking equipment. Like you didn't have fucking Reason or Logic or some shit on your computer. You had to have every single plugin was an actual board or a synthesizer or a piece of hardware that you needed to buy for your studio. So I think the startup for musicians back in the day, that shit was really expensive. Making your own music was hardcore. You couldn't do that shit on a computer.
That's true. There probably were different startup costs. I still don't think it amounts to the amount that the people were taking in regards to that, because like I said to you, with the insurers, they would overcharge on a lot of things just to be able to maximize the reasons why they're taking such a huge cut of the profits. But moving to the example of the individual in question, the guy who gave up 100% of his earnings to that company, what were they offering in return to get him to the point that he got?
What were they offering the Channel 5 kid?
Yeah.
I think
that is certainly probably a huge fuck up that they couldn't keep that Channel 5 kid afterwards.
Well, because he probably knew his
shitty
value, and there was no negotiating he was going to do. He didn't need anything from them past.
Oh yeah, maybe so, but still, they should have tried throwing. The Channel 5 kid made it seem like they weren't willing to budge on anything. I would be sucking this kid's dick at the end to try and get him to stay with me. Be like, listen, man, we're gonna dump him.
Well, it's kind of like the
but
it was
my question
was it the 100 Thieves thing? What was that esports team? No, it was FaZe, where everybody was acting like that one guy got over by FaZe so much he was trying to get away. But he didn't really get over. He was up and coming talent. He was a nobody. They invested some money in him. He ended up blowing up, and but everybody viewed them as the bad guys, right?
So do you guys know what they offered him in terms of services to get him to the point that he wanted to?
Well, initially for the one kid, I think it was offering film equipment and crews and stuff, basically all the equipment he needed to actually film, and then a channel put it on.
Okay, so they offered him all the filming equipment. What else?
I think that was probably it on the channel. I don't know.
Well,
if
no,
they
the RV. Didn't they?
Oh,
pay for
did they offer the RV?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they did. Oh, and the van. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
basically, bankrolled him, yeah.
did they offer?
And they paid their salaries.
They paid salaries to everybody, including
him and
the
his
YouTuber.
people.
Okay. So that deal I can understand. Did they lock him in for how many years?
I think it was as long as All Gas No Brakes was out, so you can go see when it
It's
started.
probably
first
1 or
to
2
last.
years, or my guess.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 or 2 years. Do we know the difference between 1 or 2 years and 10 years?
Okay, but that's not fair because you were complaining earlier that it's exploitative that an artist doesn't own their song. You can't now say that it's about the length. Like you were saying,
Well, it's a
TLC doesn't have the right.
combination. It's a combination. It's not
Okay.
one thing. I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's because they don't own their match that's inherently exploitive. But you understand the difference between locking
Hold on, guys.
somebody
Be
into-
right back.
So let's say it's a YouTuber like him, and he's locked into a 10-year deal, which is pretty much going to be most of his shelf life on YouTube. Do you think? It's
Well,
right that he
I think we all agree on this that 10 years is a long time.
Oh,
that
for
that can
sure.
suck. That like, but I think the issue we're having is that like, let's say that deal didn't exist. These people have done nothing. Like, where do they go otherwise? I think that's the.
I mean, we can't say for certain. That's
Well,
not.
no,
I would
no.
say-
We can say
yeah.
almost certainly because otherwise, why
Yes.
would they take such a highly exploitative deal, right?
But because they don't know any better.
No, this is not them like getting
hold on.
food stamps. This is them trying
No,
to
no,
become
but-
a millionaire and become famous.
Hold up.
This is not exploitative.
Hold up. Do we not know of many people who don't go through their options when it comes to signing on to things?
No, I do, but like I'm.
That's most YouTubers.
Yeah,
I know
I'm an
today.
asshole, but like I make fun of those people. Like if you don't read your contract
Okay,
and it's
you
your
can make
life, like
fun
you're a
of-
fucking moron. But like, no, I understand what you're saying. I like, yeah, they should have like lawyers or representatives, but at some point, like Jesus Christ, like a lot of these people sign under shit. Like how many people? No offense, and Machinima was a f***ing company, but how many people signed under that Machinima shit and didn't even read their contracts? And then like 3 years later, like, wait a second, into perpetuity. What does that mean? It's like, well, I mean, bro, you f***ing signed it. Like the fuck.
Right. And this is the issue with financial illiteracy. Most people have no concept of money or how it works. Again, this is where the whole family thing comes into play, where it's like if your parents don't teach you or if people around you don't teach you, when you're going into most of this stuff, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And when I'm speaking about hip hop specifically, you're talking about people who a lot of them didn't go to school. They didn't have any education. They'd be lucky to have one parent around. So you're asking these people to make sensible contractual decisions and not be over by a contract by somebody who's swelling the sweet nothings. Because a lawyer or a representative
I'm
can
back.
tell you anything. They can come up to you and they can be like, hey, this is a fantastic contract. And you're not going to know because you're barely literate. You can barely read through the contract to understand it. So I could agree with you that they deserve accountability for the fact that they signed a bad contract. That doesn't change the fact that one, the contract's exploitative, and two, that the contract and the circumstances don't, it's not like a place where someone can come into it and sign with like the right mindset. There's a difference between you fucking up a phone contract for 3 years and then you fucking up your entire artistic career for the next 10 years because you don't know what you're doing. Do you understand the difference between those two things?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand the difference. It's just a matter of like, what is the capital available, and like, what is the realistic function of like the capital in this industry. So like, so this is Dan's argument essentially, and I'm partial to it, but I understand your argument as well. Dan's argument is that like, let's say that it was the case that you've got a whole bunch of new kids on the scene, okay, and I can f them for like 90% more than what I should be able to. Okay, I'm signing these kids to exploitative deals, ruining their lives, banking all the extra money. It's f***ing awesome. So there's two things in capital markets that you would expect to see happen, I think broadly speaking, if this was the case. One, everybody would be investing in the music industry because holy shit, the margins must be huge if you're f***ing over like new artists that much. And two, if the margins are that huge, people are going to start record labels because what the f***, if people are f***ing over people this hard, then you can go over a little bit less hard and you can make a ton of money in the process. Because if you guys are really ripping people off that much, I'll sign these people and I'll make all the money instead, and I'll just like rip them off a little bit less. That's kind of what Dan is saying, is that you'd expect new capital to flow into the industry if it really was that exploitative. But you're saying, and there is some validity on your side, that like the barrier to entry is really high. Not anybody can just spin a fucking record label and be like, oh, now I have a record label and I'm gonna f everybody over, blah blah blah. It's just hard to know where the reality is between those two things. Yeah.
It's not just hard. Like you, back in the day, you remember how everything had to go through radios?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, radio didn't just take a song because people requested it, but radios were literally fed playlists by record labels to tell them what songs to put on the radio. That's how it worked. So if you want to start up a new label and all that stuff, well, you can't just send it to the radio station to get it on the airwaves and to play nationally. This idea that you could just kind of figure it out yourself and new capital, like it was not possible for a long time. That's why when SoundCloud came around, it was such a big deal. That's why we had the whole era of SoundCloud rappers. Why do you think that was a thing?
Why do I think SoundCloud rappers were a thing?
Why do you think it became a phenomenon, the whole term SoundCloud rapper?
Well, because
I
you could
can't
publish
tell
it
you,
on
I don't know who a single
SoundCloud.
one is. I don't know who a single SoundCloud rapper is. I'll tell you that though.
Wait,
You don't
hold on.
know,
Whoa,
but
whoa.
you heard the
XXX.
I could probably bet $1 million he knows a SoundCloud rapper. He just don't know that they started out on SoundCloud. Making pretty big statements there, buddy.
Tentacion made it on SoundCloud, right? Wasn't he the guy? Yeah.
Right, and he blew up. But
Yeah,
the
for
thing
sure.
is, he had to pierce through he didn't have to go through a record label.
Yeah,
He didn't
because
have to
radio
get a
play
subs-
became less important, and SoundCloud and online distribution became like more of the norm. Like, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say is when back in the day there was no opportunity for these people to have alternatives. So this
Sure, but, like,
idea of
back in
the idea of a fair market that would come into play where someone would come in and offer them less money. I don't think people understand the barrier to entry and how steep it was. It wasn't some minor thing where you're like, it was almost impossible for people to come in and then just bring in a slew of artists.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but like there's probably like a reason why it ran that way. Like people, like there needed to be some guarantee of like return of profits because the investment was so high from some of these companies. I mean, my
And
guess.
so risky, probably.
And
Look at all
probably
of them
risky
that,
as well,
that
right?
went out of business as well.
Yeah, you're talking about the smaller labels that were signed to the larger ones. So like it's
Are
complicated.
you trying to say that like record labels didn't like lose money and go out of business, making big bets that didn't pay off?
No,
You know
I'm talking about the fact that, okay, so the way a lot of these record labels worked is that there's the larger record label and then there's a smaller below it. The smaller below it, which is like managed a lot of the artists, but they pretty much were beholden to the larger.
They're like
one.
feeder
That's
labels,
what-
basically, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So those don't really count as far as like the big labels that existed back into the day exist today, vast majority of them. So the ones that you're talking about that went out of business are generally the smaller ones that don't actually have the ability to decide people's fate nearly as much. Am I making sense?
So why did they go out of business?
They went out of business because the artists that they managed were no longer working. So the larger company basically decided, like, we're not going to funnel money to you. You're not making money, so we're not going to pay you guys
Well,
out.
they probably went out of business because they didn't make enough money off of what they were doing. That they didn't have enough winners to subsidize their losers, and the winners that they did have didn't cover the losers that they did have.
Right. But the reason why I was bringing up the idea that, like, this whole idea of so many record labels being in existence is that these record labels were beholden to the big ones, so they play by the same rules. So that's why I'm saying this whole barrier to entry still exists. You guys are talking about a market where there's actual competition. What I'm trying to say is if these guys are all just operating underneath each other, that's not an actual open market. Do you understand?
Like, you keep coming back to this, and I keep saying, like, why did TLC get this deal and so many other artists got better deals?
You're acting like necessarily artists got better. Okay.
I feel like we're.
So-
Or
Yeah,
are you guys about to
we're
retread?
looping.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we're looping.
well,
Well, 'cause
yeah,
110%. They're about to reach this motherfucker because they're talking past each other and they're not. They're just gonna keep doing it. It's like, it is what it is. You're looking at it from completely two different sides. There's like no way that you both are gonna understand. Well, I think Abba knows. I really do. I think Abba understands what Dan is saying, but I completely don't think Dan understands what Abba's saying.
I think you've done the you've done the
Nobody.
same argument. Yeah, I think you guys are
Okay.
just not gonna
okay.
agree.
So,
yeah.
so just to come back to the Channel 5 guy. So he signs a 2-3 year deal. He gets out of it. He starts his own stuff. He's working really well. Why were you bringing that up, this?
Well, just because a lot of people wouldn't have the chance to start without that initial capital investment, and there's probably a lot of that initial capital investment that goes literally nowhere.
and that may have not even been that much money. Like a RV and a few salaries, like what are they really out? Like 250K? Like maybe 500K? Like it's not, and people will definitely say like that company was evil. Like I think there was actual hate threads for that company.
I don't think that company's evil. Why? No. I mean, they're doing what Dan said that they're doing. Like, I don't think that they're evil. I think that they're just trying to make money. I don't think that they're evil, though. Like, I don't think they're like, oh, how can I fuck you? They're like, how can I make as much money as I can? And in the process, you get fucked. So it's just, I don't think that it's necessary. Company's gonna company. Like,
That they did that they let this kid literally live a fucking dream life doing that shit.
Yeah, I think
and
we're
now this
circling-
company's like the Antichrist. It's so stupid. And like
Yeah.
like people that have your views would be there like, this is bullshit, this is exploitive, I can't. And that's like, dude, that's like the sickest fucking deal ever. Go ask any other kid, like, hey, you want to go be a gonzo journalist? You and your 3 friends will pay for the RV. You know, you're not going to make much, but you can go around the world interviewing crazy people. That's like, fucking sign me up. So yeah, that's like the same thing. And again, with
Yeah, but he's
TLC,
still gonna say, yeah, you guys are like on the loop now, because he's gonna say, yeah, sure, maybe they're getting money from it, but they can still be exploitative, right? The contracts can be, even if they are.
Yeah,
the only
I
option
guess
in
I
the game.
just can something be exploitative when you're not trying to do something for
I mean, like we can
subsistence, but you're trying to become a famous millionaire?
The answer is yes.
Yeah?
We can conceive of like I could probably find an up and coming
Of course. Yes, the answer is yes. Destiny, good job.
streamer that wants a shot on my platform, and I could rip him the fuck off. I could make like I
It's
could
not hard.
yeah. Like I theoretically I'm doing it to
Sure,
both of you right now on my
you-
stream when I walk away to do phone calls and you guys are entertaining me, right? But I can like offer somebody like, oh, I'll give you $200 a month, and to a streamer that's up and coming has no chance. That might be like, oh my god, $200, holy shit. I'll
New streamers. New streamers. Don't do it for. Okay, yeah, do it for two. If you're, just know what you're going into it for. So yeah, I would say yeah, you could do it for $200, right? But know what you're getting into it for. If you're doing it for $200, what you're wanting is the exposure. That's what you're wanting. So like with Destiny, because Destiny said, I'm pretty much doing it to you guys. I went and took a phone call and you guys held my stream up and I still kept making money. So yes, but the only way that it would be the same thing as what ABBA is saying, that's what I'm saying, like they're completely missing each other. What ABBA is saying, so for that to be the same would be ABBA comes on to Destiny stream, you know, ABBA gets, you know, notoriety or whatever from Destiny's following. So he might pick up, you know, I don't know. I think ABBA's pretty, or what is it? ABBA and Preach or whatever their thing is. I think they're pretty big on their own. But, you know, ABBA might gain, you know, a few more or subscribers or whatever, you know, from it. The only way it would be the same, though, is if then ABBA goes back to his page and then Destiny comes and is like, hey, bro, you got all these followers from me. I need you to write me a check for this. And you're going to have to keep writing me checks. Because, honestly, I don't know what the difference is between what I did for you and what you was already doing on your own. So technically that could be still from me. So you're going to have to continue writing me checks like forever for that. So that's the difference. It's not the same at all. It's really, really not. That's what I'm saying. Like they're obviously talking past each other.
I'll do it, and then I make like 10 times that money or 100 times the money off of them. Like we could.
Yeah, I guess I don't think that's. Yeah, I guess I don't feel like that's exploitative. Like you're taking you only have so many limited spots to bring people on, and you're paying someone.
I wouldn't say that's exploitative either between ABBA and Destiny. It's not. Like that's what you're talking about, two different things. Like you really can't compare these two things at all, because if you're looking at it, what Destiny's getting is content, and what ABBA's getting is notoriety. So as long as you're okay with that, then it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem with the music thing is it seems like a lot of people didn't understand what they were doing. And you can say, yeah, that's their fault for not understanding. That's fine. But what ABBA's saying is, in and of itself, that is fucked up. That's all he's saying. That's it. He's not saying that, you know, they need to change it. He's not saying, well, he might be. I don't know. But the point that he's making right now is that is in and of itself is fucked up. Like the thing is fucked up. Like the contract itself is fucked up. So it's completely different than all this other shit that they want to bring into it. Hopefully Destiny will figure it out, because usually Destiny he's on his shit, but right now he's kind of fucking up. But we'll see.
I'm doing this shit for free. I didn't know you guys are getting paid. Like, unironically, I don't know. Like, this is a chance that a lot of people would do. They would do that. I don't know if it's exploitative. If this is like the best deal I can get to go and do that, I think that's like okay. Let me see.
I mean,
if
it feels shitty when there's an industry and everybody in that industry is getting paid but you. Like this happens to artists a lot too.
Okay, but let me take this. Wouldn't you make the same thing with startup investing? Like if you invest $25K in my company or whatever it is, and because of X, Y, and Z, you're getting 30%, and it turns into Facebook, and now you have 30% of fucking
I feel like
Facebook.
it's a different thing. Startup investing in an entity that's a company is different than like an individual that's like sacrificing their personal time, talents.
I don't know that. Typically, when
There you go. That's my boy. Get him. See, Destiny can get it. He understands this shit. Now you need to explain it to fucking Dan. Dan's your boy. Explain it to him. You should know how to talk to him.
When you invest in a startup, you're not even investing in the startup.
You're investing in the person.
founder.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of it is based on like I'm hoping this guy is gonna go crazy and work his balls off to do it. So that's kind of how I feel. It's like very similar to startup investing. Is that when you do make it and you're like, holy shit, the thing that I made is all of a sudden worth $1 billion, and you're trying to tell me that you get 50%? Why? Because you were the first guy there that was exploitative to me and gave me 50 grand? Like, I didn't know that shouldn't have been the deal. You should have just got like, maybe you can get double your money, but and it just doesn't work that way. It literally, I know it doesn't work that way in startup investing because it doesn't make sense financially. It has to be the same for the music business.
Yeah,
like
we're
need
going,
the huge
we're looping.
hits.
I think you've looped this conversation for 3 hours.
All right, yeah.
I think we'll understand each other's points.
All right.
Yeah. So, anyways, Jews and Kanye.
Oh, it's why you can't.
I don't think Dan understands the point. I really don't. I don't. I think Destiny's just trying to move on.
Get bankrupt on student loans. Yeah.
Jews and Kanye. Oh, wait, hold on.
That's where this all started. But I'm
Yeah,
not gonna-
well, we have a friend here, Young Sneeko, said he wanted to say something to you.
Oh, he could come on. He could say it. I can repeat whatever I said in my video to him as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So are we done? Is this the end of this convo?
No, you don't want to talk to your favorite red pill creator?
I don't know enough about the red pill.
Nah. You was talking shit before. You was like, yo, fuck this shit. I'm done with this arc. Destiny, move on. Yo,
Oh
talk to
no,
your boy.
I do think we should be done with that arc, but that's nothing about him. I don't even know is he literally just a red pill streamer? Is that what he does at this point?
Are you okay?
I love the silence. Like, what? Yeah, that's what he's always done. Except for whenever he was a kid, I think he used to do games and shit in the middle of it. But since he's been big, yeah, that's what he does.
Stop.
What? I don't. I was asking a question. I have no idea.
I know it's just a name.
You know, it feels good when I come here and I know nothing about the music industry, and at the very least, I was convincing enough to get some people on my side. That's good because I
don't think you were convincing at all, sir. I really don't. I think that what you did was you just explained the fucking corporation side, but I think if everybody really wants to understand it, they can understand where the corporation is coming from. So you didn't explain shit. You didn't make it right. You didn't validate anything. You didn't do none of that shit. So there's no pats on the back at all.
tell you right now, I know nothing about it. Zero.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but there can be
yeah.
different types of industries where like things can be funky. Like I think I'm a really good example. Do you remember when I moved over to Owned?
Yeah.
Twitch was offering to like basically 5x their compensation to me, like in order to keep me from transferring. And my thought process at the time was that like, hold on, you're telling me that you're offering me 5x what I was getting before right now, and you didn't do that at all until another person stepped in to actually compete? Like my question is like, have I been getting taken for a ride the entire time? And the answer was yes. But I mean like,
no. The reason why they gave you 5x in that moment versus they didn't do it before is because they'd invested in 100 other Twitch streamers and they didn't give any kind of capital back.
good one.
And
Nice.
Get him, Alan. Get him.
Oh my God, Abba with the killer argument.
Shots fired.
But like when that happened, I was like, okay, well, that was one of the reasons I left, because they matched the offer from Owned. They matched it. I'm like, hold on, Owned is trying to buy me for like 5x of what you're trying to fucking match me now for. Why are you matching me? You should be overcoming their offer. Fuck you.
Was that just a flat rate? There was no Twitch Primes back then, right? So
No, it
was
wasn't
just a
Twitch
flat rate?
Primes. It was going to be, I think it was a bonus to subs. It was I don't even know if they were offering me a cash advance. It was a smaller cash advance, and then it was way higher CPMs guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you guys. So when you're looking at that situation, they could all of a sudden offer you $300K more a month. The stuff that you were asking for a raise before, they couldn't do because, budget's tight or whatever the fuck it is. Now they can. I understand why they're doing it, because financially it just benefits them to keep you on the platform. But when you see stuff like that, that don't make you realize that, like, it's not because these industries are hemorrhaging or whatever. It's just because they want to, which they should. If they want to maximize profit, that's fine. But we do understand the fact that, like, this is not some necessary lifeline for them. Are we in agreement on that or no?
What necessary lifeline for the artists?
for the company itself. Like they didn't have to say no to you to maximize their profits and do everything to.
Well,
keep
it gets complicated. Yeah, they probably did actually. Like I had higher value back then than what they were offering, but they're also like running in the red constantly. So it's like a balance of like who's getting fucked over at any point. Like Twitch is still running massively in the red, so like it's a complicated ordeal. Like figuring out like the true value of something is it's all like really complicated.
Okay, so then I guess in your case you weren't exploited. They were trying to protect their investment essentially.
I mean, I was kind of exploited because I think
No,
I
you
probably
weren't.
worked more. Well,
They were hemorrhaging money.
yeah, but
What
it's
you talking
here. The issue is that like when you
They were
say somebody-
hemorrhaging money and they had to take it out of your ass, bro. That's basically what happened, according to Dan.
exploited, and this is actually, it's funny, you guys actually hit on this. It's like a fundamental argument of like what is value. This is what Marx wrote on.
How much too? What percent?
Well,
right?
this is
It's like-
this is the whole point of like the labor theory of values, trying to relate things and figure out like, well, what is the value of a commodity? What is the value of labor,
That's
right?
fair.
In capitalism, there's a question of what is the value of somebody's labor, and Dan is actually giving you the quintessential capitalist answer of, well, your labor is the value of whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Full stop. Boom. If you might be a heart surgeon, but there's a million heart surgeons in the country, you're only
I was saying Dan ain't wrong about that. He really ain't. Like I understand that part.
going to get paid $2 an hour because anybody can do the job. It doesn't matter if it's heart surgery or not, right? There might only be one janitor in the country, and that motherfucker's making, $500 million a year because he's the only guy that can wield the mop as much as our Janies can in the DGG subreddit. But ABBA is trying to like hit at these other forms of things that go into producing like a good or service, where it's like, well, what about the time invested by the person? What about the sacrifice that they're making? What about the the fact that they're not going to own their IP for the future? They've got to give up like some actual IP rights in order to do things. And yeah, these are all like even in capitalism, there's going to be more arguments besides just what somebody's willing to pay for something, because obviously there's emotional attachments and there's like good like actual like merits that what things provide for.
I guess that would be my question, right? To Dan. So you built your company. I don't know what kind of company it is, but let's say it's like an Amazon type of deal. And you got workers under you. So now that your company has been built, should you take less of that money? Shouldn't your workers get more of that money? So now that because you just said that I don't think that artists should be making as much as they are. Like how is their value more value than the fucking, the construction worker or whatever? So technically you could say the same to you. Then you shouldn't be making that much money either, bro. Like the workers should be getting the bigger share. You should be making like $50,000 a year, because now you're probably going to set back. Maybe you'll make some decisions, or something like that, or that's about it, bro. Like that's about all you're going to do. And then you want to get to a point to where you can just chill at the house and your company just keeps stacking money into your pockets. And so let's say you get to that point. Then should you get anything? Like anything at all? Like, I mean, that's just it. I don't know. You let me know, Dan.
In society, like, why should we pay our teachers more? They should just get paid with the free market size. Well, they're literally educating the future of the country. Maybe we should pay them more. But you guys are arguing about like it's a very, 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 very complicated thing of like,
So
what is
so basically, I'm the capitalist and he's a Marxist.
Well, it's not. I'm just saying there's no right or wrong answer. These are incredibly like, what is somebody's labor worth? That's a really complicated.
So he's a Bernie voter, basically.
I mean, hey, I appreciate the slander.
He's not a Bernie voter. He's an artist, right? Like I did music. Like this is always a question of like friends will say like, how much should we pay? Like, can you come and do this art? I guarantee you. I'm gonna guess. Actually, I can't guarantee, but I'm gonna guess. ABBA, have you had at least one friend in your life ask to come by to like a birthday party or something and do like a routine for free?
Like what? Like what kind of routine?
Like a comedy routine, like a stand-up, like come tell some jokes or whatever for like a party or a get-together.
Oh yeah, there's definitely people who've done a lot of that kind of labor.
Yeah, it's the same with like artists, music. Like, hey, like, can you draw this thing for me? And it's like, yeah, sure. Oh, cool, I'll do this. Blah, blah. It's gonna be like $50. I'm like, what? I'm not gonna pay you. You're my friend. It's like, bro, this is my fucking job. What do you mean you're not gonna pay me? Right? Yeah, this happens in the art world all the time. So it explains ABBA's view, and I'm super sympathetic towards it. Like coming from music, of course, and being an entertainer myself. Like, yeah, it's hard to put like an actual valuation on all the work and everything that goes into. Oh my God! At some point, Dan and ABBA, we have a conversation on AI art. We're actually hitting the point in society where it's like, holy shit, AI is actually starting to replace like artists, because holy shit. But
are they making good music?
Not music yet, but the art is actually what the fuck. Like I've had people email me shit where it's like, I just typed in these words and this is what came out. I'm like, dude, I would pay a lot of money for this. Like this is actually getting to a point where and you're getting like AI art, like winning art competitions and shit now. And it's actually fucking wild.
I'm not mad at that. I think that kind of stuff is interesting in terms of
the other. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I like that.
Sneeko, if you're here, you can talk whenever. I don't know if you're here or not, but okay, go ahead.
the other thing I thought I brought up as well that is like deserves to be talked to is there's certainly you could call it exploitative under your framework, but like internships. But like, you know, if you're interning to be a lawyer or like a doctor, I don't know if you intern to be a doctor, I don't think so. But like, you know, you're basically like, you're definitely under your framework being exploited, right? You're doing labor that's being billed out at $500 an hour and you're getting paid $20 an hour. But is that like, you know, is that fair or not? Because at the end of this pie, or at the end of this, you know, yeah.
I would traditionally, I used to defend, I think I might still defend like unpaid internships, because it's like, people make a meme about like, oh, exposure, you get paid in exposure. But there is some exposure that I would pay for. Like, if, you know, the thing is,
100%, 100%.
Nobody's, but like if Joe Rogan said like, hey, can you come on my show? But like, I'm not going to cover like any of the flights or any of the lodging. Like, I'd be like, bro.
I'm there
I'll pay
in a heartbeat.
lodging. Like, yeah, of course I'm coming on your show. I don't care. Like, the exposure is worth it, you know?
But again, that's different. Then you'd have to think, then Joe Rogan comes back to you after you're off of his show and he got your content and saying, hey, bro, you blew up because of me. I need a check every month. So there's a difference. There is a difference. Every time that you do your show, I need to get paid. There's a difference, bro. Way better difference.
You know, yeah.
Or even if he said like, oh, also you have to pay a $1,000 show appearance fee, you'd be like, yep, where do I pay PayPal?
Yeah,
you
who do
now?
I? Yeah,
You know
what do
I
you want me to bring a check or cash or what? Yeah.
Nope, fuck that. No, hell no. Every time I go up, no. Well, $1,000, like, so, okay, so it depends on how much it is. We're talking about 30 to 50%. Now you're saying $1,000. If it's $1,000 every time I stream and you boosted me up to like fucking, you know, where I'm making like, I don't know, $500,000 a year, and I'm having to give you $1,000 every time I stream, and I'm making, yeah, well, I guess it would depend on how much I'm making. Like if I'm making, like, okay, so every time I stream, if I'm making, I don't know, I probably still might not do that, bro, because, okay, so if you're able to do it full time, and let's say you're doing, I guess it would depend. It would just depend on how much you're making per stream. If you're making like, you know, 5,000, I probably still wouldn't do it. That's a lot. That's a lot, bro. If I'm making like fucking 20,000, okay, the only way I think I would do something like that is if I was making 20,000 a stream. If I'm making 20,000 a stream, every time I gotta give you $1,000 out of that, I'd probably do it. But it would have to be if I'm streaming 3 to 4 times a week, then I probably would do it, honestly. But I don't know about forever though. But I do it for like 10 years or some shit like that. Cool. I'd be okay with that. But you talk about forever, probably not. That's a lot, bro. Like you think nah. Hell nah. Like, no. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. That's a tough one. Good job. Good job, guys. You made me have to think.
Yeah.
And that's like the definition of like exploitation under that case, like, right? Like I'm showing up, I'm doing this shit, and I'm paying you. It's not like I'm doing it for free. I'm fucking paying you just to, be platform. Yeah.
But it's all complicated. It's complicated.
It's all levels.
Because unpaid internships, at least emotionally, to me, feel pretty shitty. Like you're bringing on some college kid, and you know that you basically abuse the fuck out of him to like work and make money and shit for you for free, and it's like, okay, that's pretty shitty. But
yeah, I wouldn't say it's inherently shitty, but I think it's because it's an unregulated area. Oftentimes, there's opportunities for that for sure.
Well, that's why we rely on regulation specifically. Well, that's why I think for all of these things, and you're like, where's the line? The perfect answer is us as a people regulate through our legislators where that line is, right? The minimum that you can exploit someone for their work is $15 an hour. The maximum for a contract that can revolve around this is 4 years. The maximum that you can do on it. Like,
I agree.
We legislate around that.
We need those protections in place. But I don't know.
So,
for me, just earlier, I just resented the idea that because it was the best they can get at the time, it was therefore non-exploitative. I'm like, no, it's not because there's no regulations in place today that shit wasn't exploited. That's
exploitative,
sure, but
it's also a function of its time.
And it's also hard to look back when you see, no offense, I'm going to stereotype hardcore here. No, I can do this because I'm in streaming and they're the same, right? When you get like dipshits that don't read contracts contracts, and then they sign them, and then when they get money, they waste it on fucking all sorts of stupid shit.
Oh, yeah,
And then like
I talked
5
about
years
that.
later, they're like, wow, I got exploited crazy. It's like, bro, you didn't get exploited crazy. You wasted the little bit of money that you even fucking read your contract to sign for, and now you're just mad as fuck that like, and now you're out here, you know, singing. You're like, oh, I got fucked by the company song and dance. When you could have been a millionaire if you just fucking invested a little bit or saved your money. Yeah.
I think all I wish is that we could arm people with the tools to make the decision, so that way if they get fucked over, at least they're doing it so with the knowledge they need. And I just think when I think of like we go into adulthood, and this is a discussion that you and I have had, school doesn't prep you for adulthood, and if your family doesn't do it or the family doesn't have the knowledge, then you are just unprepared for
fucked.
adulthood.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Like I'm 32, really starting to understand the whole tax game. My mom never understood, nobody around me understood, and I made it this far. Now, does that mean I don't have any accountability? That I absolutely do. What I'm trying to say is there's a big difference between my situation and people who are across from me, who their parents have always had accounting, or they've always had this kind of knowledge. And when you're going into adulthood and you're expected to make adult decision, but with so much limited information, like even the idea of taking student loans, like before these people take student loans, they should understand what debt is. They need to know what shit means. They need to know what interest looks like. They need to know, because like if you have no concept of money, what does a $50,000 student loan debt even fucking mean?
Yeah, of course.
So
It's like-
extreme. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like the answer is that like if you're negotiating contracts in certain industries or certain sizes, there should just be a requirement that you have legal representation, and then that would like hopefully put a pause on a lot of it. So if you're in the music industry, you're required to like have an agent or lawyer, somebody like sign off on what you're doing, and then that would probably cut down. That's why in esports, like all of the agencies became so important, because they're like, okay, well, you know, you should have to have representation, otherwise you're going to get fucked over by teams and stuff.
Yeah, but if you don't have the money to do that, I mean, even if you make that a requirement, then what? Like, ain't that like whenever, if you're working for a company, not like big shit, you know, fucking, what is this, entertainment and stuff like that, right? Even in them arbitration rooms, usually the lower guy gets taken, you know, for a ringer. Like it's no, like I mean, it's if you're not knowledgeable or something like that, you can still get fucked in all those situations. With a lawyer, if you don't have the money, then what, you know? And if I don't know, it could be something, but I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, I just want people to be better armed. I think that's my main thing. So at least that way, if they fuck themselves, or at least they know what they were doing when they're making their dumb decisions, or they should have known. And I hate the idea of 18-year-olds signing themselves to 10-year deals or whatever the fuck it is. So yeah, I agree with Dan in regards to like regulation is good in a lot of these areas. But yeah, that's probably the extent of what I got for this.
I wonder if exploitation by itself is almost defined by the current laws of, I don't know, I don't want to say like where you're at, because obviously that couldn't be the case, but you almost have to rely on that to a certain extent. Like, you know, is it fair right now if I pay you to work at like Dunkin' Donuts for $15 an hour, but in like 20 years we're like, how could we do that? It should have been $40 an hour. That was exploitative. Like, it's so much a factor of the time and place of where you're at and looking at it at that period. I think the only way we can really, like, looking backwards is easy, but as far as what's exploitative today, it has to be based on a fact of laws and following the law and doing that. And if there's bad things you can do, like maybe it's legal to dump mercury in a river right now, right? And that's fucked. I'm not saying that's good, because that's not good, but to a certain extent we have to rely on laws being made that prohibit or allow things, and then determining that is.
So what Abba would say, or would be saying, if you took that, it would be, yeah, that's what they did back in that time, but that doesn't mean that it's not bad. Just because they did it and everybody was cool with it doesn't mean that that's not a bad thing, is what I think Abba would say.
Is the line of where something is exploitative or if something is allowed and acceptable. But there can be things that, you know, are always going to be distasteful. Like, you kind of give this example. If you write a song and I paid you to write that song, that's my song, right? And no matter what law we do, but our whole society of contracts and everything is based on that IP being assignable. So if you go and I pay you to write a song and I own that song, you're always going to say that's exploitative in 30 years if you can't sing that song at a concert.
No, I wouldn't say that, but I get what you're saying.
Right? But I have to treat it the same as any other piece of art or work product. Like I use the example, like you do if you're an architect and you drop things for my house, or you're a programmer and you create something for my website, like that is mine forever and you will never have a right to it. You were the pen and I was the hand, so to speak.
So someone wrote, Abba's arguing that lower class families are dumb. Yeah, generally speaking, you'll probably find an overrepresentation of dumb.
Yeah. No shit. What the fuck?
People around poor.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. What if they're not dumb? Are they just genetically inferior? Of course. Lack of education, lack of finance. Yeah, they have to be. You can't say that they're all like the same level of intelligence. Otherwise, then what explains for their failures? What? Like, yeah, of course.
I have no
That's
problem
right,
saying that, and it's not to
Yeah.
look down on them. That's just what it is. Like poor people overrepresent for a lack of education. Lack of education probably is going to lead to worse decision making when it comes to finances. Financial literacy is like one of the biggest markers for people staying poor. Yeah, I don't care how much money you give somebody. You can give them millions of dollars. If these people have never been around money or don't understand money, they're probably more often than not going to become poor again. They're going to be exploited by somebody who understands finances, or they're going to be exploited by their own stupidity. Yes, poor people are generally dumber when it comes to money. Absolutely. And I know this because I was pretty fucking stupid about money. Okay? And I count myself from a very poor background. So yeah.
Well, that's
Poor
like
people-
part of the reason why it's a good thing when
God.
cities invest in like legal, free legal clinics. Like the idea that like if you're poor,
Yep.
you can go there and get stuff looked at and things like that. But here's an interesting question for you guys to think about. Do you think we'll still have libraries as prevalent as we do in 50 years?
Hell no.
Do you know the most militant group online?
People that defend libraries or people that defend physical books?
Librarians are number one above all else. Like, you might think like, oh, this community is like, fucking ferocious if you even mention anything to do it. Librarians are like the fucking Giga Chads at the top. Like if you say, like, I dare you to go on Twitter and say like, ban all libraries, they're like, you've never seen this.
Well, that's
until
probably
you go
because
there.
libraries are generally like super fucking awesome. They've got a lot of like cool resources and shit for
Yeah,
people.
but you also admit they're on their way out though.
Well, yeah, because people just don't know. They're not educated on it.
So yeah.
I'm pretty sure libraries you can like at some you can rent out like fucking iPads and shit. And then there's people think that libraries only have books there, but there'll be like computers you can use the internet on if you got to do like job applications or research or shit like that. I think you can get subscriptions to like journals and stuff. There's like a lot of stuff. There's a ton of like your local library usually has a lot of like Wi-Fi, like amazing resources and shit.
I think there's actually like some very specific laws that libraries like almost unseemingly. I don't see how it's legal. Like I know this is going to sound way too capitalist for you, Abba. I wonder how it's possible that libraries are able to exist. If you think about that, right? Like if you sell, because basically what they're doing is they're giving away a product for free, like especially like DVDs, right? Because I think you can get DVDs at libraries, right? Like for instance, you can't go to the movies. Like I can't. If you go to a bar, you can't play content on the television there for free, right? You can't just go put on like A Few Good Men. Like that's a performance that you're supposed to pay to do that. That's the reason movie theaters and things like that are in place. But they've created laws that, don't get me wrong, are definitely good, but it's very counterintuitive, I think, to the ways that we have our copyright society done, I guess. I don't know how to say it. It just seems that it would be incompatible with it. Do you understand what I'm saying at all, or am I rambling here?
Are you just saying that it's hard to imagine they would exist in our current structure because it seems like a lot of, like,
if
IP
a library
violation,
didn't
or-
exist today, if there was never such a thing as a library today, I can't imagine how you would ever pass
Well, it's
laws to
publicly
make it
funded,
legal.
right? So
What's that?
it's publicly funded, so they probably have special rules and shit as a result of being like a government kind of org, right?
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like how a library exists. I'm saying that you want to take my copyrighted content and freely distribute it to other people that they can get without paying.
Well, but you've already paid for it, right?
No, the library has paid for it.
Yeah. Aren't you allowed to do that in the United States, or can you not? Can you not loan a book to
So
somebody?
you think I could just start a Blockbuster today
Um,
online? Can I go do that?
I think you can. Yeah, can't you?
I don't think so.
I think
I
you
don't
can.
think that I can't like go download a copy.
No. You just talked. Now, what you just said was copyright infringement. Download a copy is violating a copyright. But if you've got a physical
Okay, fine.
product,
Let's use a better example then.
Yeah.
So, can I go buy a DVD of A Few Good Men, and then stream it just to you on the internet?
No, not unless you sell me like.
Why not?
You have to sell me the DVD.
You know, when you play a DVD, I believe it does make a copy in memory. As decoding it, it does it. So I don't.
Dan,
No, I don't mean to be
stop.
hyper technical here
That's-
because
you're getting
making
hyper-technical.
Well, you're making a hyper technical argument as well.
No.
as to why it
My
can't be-
thing is, I think my thing is literally the de facto argument. Like, I can share with you, like, when you buy a piece of software on a DVD, I think you are licensed one person per that piece of software. And if you sell that actual, like, hard disk to somebody else, then that license transfers to that person, I think. But, like, I can't just, like, stream it to you, let you download copies of it, because now I'm violating the right to make copies of that work. That's what a copyright is. This is the exclusive right to make a copy of a published
So
work.
what about if I just let only one person at a time watch my DVD on the internet? So only one person at a time.
Without
So there's
selling
no
it to
copies.
them?
Without selling it to them. I own A Few Good Men.
My
and I'm
guess is
putting it out,
going to
and
be
one person can stream it.
My
one
guess
set at
is
one at a
going to
time.
be that there's probably like codified in law somewhere. There's going to be actual like definitions of what like a performance is considered. So like if you show a DVD to your family, it's probably okay. But if you have like the whole neighborhood come over and watch, or like 20 neighbors, that's probably illegal. Like I'm
But
almost
then you
positive
wouldn't-
that
how
like
would you
if
be
I
able
buy
to watch
if
a
I
movie
buy
with your family then?
what that's do you hear what I just said? There's probably like a difference in like audience size that makes a
All
performance.
right, guys, this look like they
But,
just bullshitting
I'm
now.
almost 99% sure that I could.
But like thousands of people apply for
Oh,
that
people are
shit
saying they
together.
don't do that anymore.
Oh.
Sorry.
They're trying to say these rates are not okay, and so that's why they're actually even trying to start their own, but it's hard to compete.
Yeah.
And so the record labels are definitely losing, hemorrhaging a lot of money at the moment in regards to how like these streaming services work.
And I know that they've been trying to lobby Congress because I believe Congress also sets some of the royalty limit when it comes to streaming. I don't know if that's still the case, but I know that in the past that has been the case, and that's going to
Yeah.
require additional
All right.
lobbying on their part in order to change the way that the rate.
So we're done. I think I got my point across. I feel good. I feel calm now. I think I let everybody know what's up. So we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, push the wrong button. Hold on, give me a second. Fuck that. Oh no, I didn't. I got it good. Fucking becoming a professional. Alright guys. Have a good one. Hold up. Before you go. I might be on tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. But I might be. So be looking out. I appreciate you guys.